you getting yourself ready for our show?
Hello, jig heads and jigheads. Welcome to our biannual show that's focused on hating clock changes. All three of us have been extremely busy this week, so we'll get wastely deep into that. Brace yourselves, guys. It's a hefty first segment. Joe is all over FTG and Bait of the Week this week, and we have tourney news for you. Our interview section this week is a replay of myself and Binya from Binya Outdoors taking advantage, or talking rather, all things fishing and safety on his live stream. Grab yourselves a food, drinks, your favorite party favors, what have you. Jigs and Bigs is in your faces. Man, I'll tell you what, I feel like fucking hot dog shit right today, man. I'm not going to lie to you guys. You can probably hear my voice. That's 2 out of 3
of us.
Yeah, I think so. I do. I got hit by a truck on Friday. I woke up Saturday morning just all chest and head congestion. I've been taking rips off of this little inhaler here to get a little bit of cleared nasal passages, and so I've been on the mute button like crazy, hacking my brains out. And get ready, it's going to be like that too. I did that live stream with Binya over on Binya Outdoors, and it was great. But man, I was like hacking on the mute button constantly. Thank goodness for that. Good stuff. Fat fingered waist deep. We got a few jig heads in here. They're joining us. You guys feel free to jump in the comments, say hello, make fun of my ailments if you want to. You can do that. How are you guys?
Fucking tired. Really tired. It's almost like I lost an hour of fucking sleep.
We're going to get into that.
We are.
Yeah. Joe, how are you? How are you today?
I'm doing awesome, man.
This is
busy week. Ended the weekend awesome. But yeah, I'm ready to go.
That's good, man. This is your first show where we've recorded during the clock change. Buckle up. That's all I can tell you. Cause it's not, right. It's not, I mean, it sucks. It truly does. And I feel for Shawn, but this hurts Shawn in a way that, is on another level. It really, really is. We got Mike Mariani in here. How you doing, Mike? Hope things are good. Good evening. Of course, our jig heads are over on that, unlisted YouTube feed, checking out the show, and they're able to, kind of conversate in the comments and get involved. We've got quite a few things to talk to here. We should just talk about here. We should just get into it. Let's do this to start. There was an article that came out, and it was just, what was it? I think it was a week before last that it actually had come out. And I had shared it with you guys, and, man, let's just dive into it. So we had talked about, I don't know if it was Adam Blomecki or if it was Blomecki, excuse me, or if it was Berkshire Brett, that a while ago had sent us an article. It might have been both of them now that I think about it. Sent us an article about forever chemicals, as they're called. And those forever chemicals, there was a study done in the Great Lakes, basically talking about the impact of those chemicals on freshwater fish. And it basically saying that if you were to eat any freshwater fish from these bodies of water, that you could be exposing yourself to some pretty dangerous chemicals in some pretty significant amounts, much higher than previously thought. Well, What was it? This story came from WCVB, was the link that was sent to us, Channel 5 in Boston. Fish in 13 Massachusetts lakes, ponds, and reservoirs contaminated with PFAS chemicals, mass DPH fines. I'm going to go through the article real quick. Basically says health officials are issuing new recommendations to limit or stop consumption of fish caught in 13 bodies of water at Massachusetts state parks. Levels of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances were found in fish taken from each of these reservoirs, ponds, and lakes. Those chemicals are commonly known by the acronym PFAS or the nickname Forever Chemicals because they don't degrade in the environment. The chemicals have been around for decades in a wide variety of common products, including nonstick pans, food packaging, and firefighting foam. Their use is now mostly phased out of the U.S., but some still remain. Concerned about the chemicals' ability to weaken children's immune systems, the EPA said last year that PFAS could cause harm levels at a much lower than previously understood level. Officials with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health said that testing of fish from recreational bodies of water found elevated forever chemicals in samples taken from this list of bodies of water. So they listed Ashland Reservoir in Ashland, Chicopee Reservoir in Chicopee, Lake Coquitchuit in Natick, Denison Lake in Winchendon, Dunn Pond in Gardner, Fearing Pond in Plymouth, is it Houghton's Pond in Milton? Pierce Lake in Saugus, Pequot Pond in Westfield, a.k.a. Hampton Ponds. We've got Lake Quinsigamond in Worcester, Walden Pond in Concord, Wallam Lake in Douglas, and Watson's Pond in Taunton. Now, Shawn, you and I had talked before about that one, specifically Chicopee Reservoir and the Pequot Pond. Kind of like specifically Chicopee Reservoir was kind of a no-brainer. And you had an example about basically having to do with just like fire retardants and chemicals used at the bases, right?
Yeah, those two for Western Mass were pretty easy. I was semi-surprised about Pequot.
That's what I remember you. Yeah.
Away.
Yep.
But it makes sense. Those two are located right on Air Force bases, right next to Air Force bases. So, I know one of the adjacent ponds to Pequot that actually, I think Pequot flows into, if I'm correct, actually had a flame retardant spilling leakage issue years ago. Mm-hmm. So that for that little pond, that makes sense. But I don't know how it would get back up to Pequot. I don't know how that flow works. You know what I mean? I thought it flowed out of Pequot into the smaller pond. The smaller pond is the one that got whacked a few years ago or whenever. Yeah, and I don't know how it was making it back up.
You got to think if they're testing fish, those fish can move from spot to spot. So who knows?
Yeah, so, but it's that spot, Joe. If you're familiar with it, it's not even a stream. It's mud. The water flows like almost underground. There's no clear stream is what I'm getting at. So I don't think anything could actually swim back up to Pequot Pond. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. But who knows? It could be something dumped from the air. I have no idea. But yeah, those two were, they're ours.
All right. So I could say a lot about Pequot or Hampton Ponds because I mean, you guys know where I work. I work in that area. And, so the city of Westfield is actually actively in a lawsuit with the the DOD in regards to this because of like Shawn said, because of essentially the firefighter foam. There was ample tests on the runway. They were just kind of, or on the at the airport, and they were just kind of throwing that shit around over years, not giving a damn, not knowing. Yeah. But so not only have they found it in there, which that was the first to me, but the reason why there's a lawsuit, it's actually in the water supplies in the city of Westfield.
Oh wow,
yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Well, that makes sense if it's in the groundwater in one spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And the other one on that list that surprised me, Quinsig does not surprise me. I mean, if you guys fish Quinsig, I mean, you got floating logs, floating bodies, you got a little bit of everything coming down that lake. But Wallam Lake surprised me a little bit. Mm. I fished that quite a bit for both bass and trout and whatnot. I mean, I don't eat trout or I don't eat freshwater fish, thank God. But that's a super clean lake, so it's not something you'd ever think of. And And that also sits on 2 different states that marries up to Rhode Island. So that, they both it's kind of splits them almost down the middle. But Wallam Lake was probably the one that surprised me the most on there.
I'm glad you mentioned trout in there specifically, Joe, because there's a quote in here that says, DPH fish consumption advice applies to the consumption of all native game fish, but does not apply to stocked trout at a water body. DPH officials wrote in the statement that stocked fish are raised in fish hatcheries, then released. Therefore, they're unlikely to spend enough time in a lake or pond to become contaminated, which makes sense.
Yeah. And the thing you have to think of, we're going to kind of go down the rabbit hole here, but it's like, it's unlikely that they spend enough time. Okay, so what's the time frame?
What's the time frame? Yeah.
Because you have holdovers.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, is one winter enough?
Right.
And we should make note too. I fielded a question I relayed to you, Bobby, from a unnamed source asking, "Well, how come people are allowed to swim there?" And I had to explain it's the food chain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not swimming, and even if you drink a gallon of that water. Yeah, it's not going to taste good, and there's bacteria and all sorts of shit in it, but you're not accumulating these chemicals like the small microorganisms are that are eaten by minnows, that are then eaten by bass or predatory game fish or whatever, trout. So it sucks. It's pollution everywhere. It sucks.
And the other thing, Shawn's saying that, trout aren't initially in that food chain when they get put in there by the state because they are so used to feeding, essentially on the pellets.
Oh yeah.
But it takes. The last thing I read, it only takes about 3 to 6 weeks for those trout to adapt and begin feeding. Kind of get their natural predatory instincts to start feeding on. Essentially the food chain. Yeah. So it's like if these guys are in there for a couple months, they're gonna start eating that stuff.
It's game on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
interesting, man. But yeah, I bring that up because I was fishing. I went out twice this week. One of these spots, I was fishing in Pequot Pond, and I had what did I say? 4, maybe even 5 people that approached me and were like, "Did you hear? Did you hear about the pollution? Oh my God, it's terrible." And they all I had one woman specifically was like, "Oh yeah, well, it's good because there's septic systems in here that overflow." And I was like, that's not what PFAS comes from. That's not.
Yeah.
Thank you but at least that's organic material. It's gross, but at least it's organic material,
Just additional.
Yeah, exactly. That pond is already full of shit anyway, but it's just, it's crazy. So yeah, all these people, I know the story had just dropped on, I think Rock 102 this week or Laser or something. And, obviously was kind of at everybody's sort of the forefront this week because it's news and it's kind of local to these couple of bodies of water where I'm based. So yeah, people were kind of losing their minds, but interesting. Nelson chimes in with this great comment. And I love it. He says, "Is this why the White Bucket crew started to show a nice glow?" And I think he's 100% right. I think so.
Yeah. Let's reiterate that for anybody who's listening. All right. This sentence is as far as that question goes, again, with the question I got and the questions you fielded while you were there, Bobby.
Yep.
The chemicals have been around for decades in a wide variety of common products, including non-stick pans.
Yeah.
Nobody shits those out. Food packaging. Well, if you eat it, you're going to shit it out.
Yeah.
And firefighting foam. Hence the 2 lakes for us in the West out by the air bases. So that's what it is, folks. It's not shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is shit, but it's not human shit.
It's not human shit.
Yeah. So, there's our public service. We're clarifying that.
Yeah. Kind of crazy. Jerry House jumping in here says hello. How you doing, Jerry? Let's see. What else do we have going on here? And then, so like I said, I got out twice this week. I went out on Friday, and nothing, not even a tap, nothing. I only had about 2 hours, and then I went out for 3 hours today to another spot that's a favorite of mine, and the skunked as well. I got kind of spoiled in chick, as long as we could hit him in the face with a bait, it was great. But yeah, definitely got spoiled. But International Women's Day was this week. And I put up a post. I saw a great post on Instagram from takemefishing.org, which is an amazing organization that, does a whole lot of work to try to inspire people to get out and, and take up fishing as a pastime. It's pretty awesome. So, they had put together this really good post with 6 or 7 different slides with facts about, women in fishing. And, since the beginning of the show, this has always been a major sort of so, I've got daughters. So of course I want to make sure they have the best life possible. Joe, I'm sure you can understand exactly the same thing, and it's shitty that, we've had a lot of female anglers on the show that, have in conversations either, not necessarily what made it to the show, but every single one of them has a story about some asshole guy treating them like shit, or some story having to deal with oh yeah, I'm having a hard time finding fishing apparel that fits me, or excuse me, whatever the situation might be, and it's kind of shitty. So I saw this post and I reposted it, and I threw a couple of images on there of guests that we've had on before, Tiffany Leal, Noelle Roth, and Ellie Noel, and overwhelmingly major, supportive and encouraging comments and stuff. But man, there are some thirsty motherfuckers out there that they just cannot let it go. They can't, and I figured this out, that they cannot look inward and say oh, I've done some fucked up shit. They just can't own it. You know what I mean? And some of these guys are so clearly jealous and ridiculous. And it blows my mind. So there was a number one. I mean, I haven't had a post like this take off in the comments in a little while. So it was kind of interesting. But, I'd get someone that would leave a stupid comment and I would maybe react with an emoji or something, just to engage. Well, sure. There were a few people who just went down the rabbit hole and I had to straighten some shit out. It was just interesting, guys. So, happy International Women's Day to all of our female anglers, friends of the show, and listeners. We appreciate you. Don't let these thirsty ass pieces of shit get you down. Pretty much is what I got to say about it.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. And then, I mean, for me, that about kind of sums it up. Shawn, you had a crazy week.
Dude, I'm gonna bounce all over the place real quick. I'm gonna gun through this because again, I'm exhausted. But I want to follow up. There was 2 things I wanted to follow up with the Sportsman show. I forgot? Did we cover last week about the lure definition that I got from Fish and Wildlife?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, I fucked up. So sorry, everybody. All right, so fishing show last week. Was it last week? 2 weeks? When was it? 2 weeks ago? Last week.
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Oh my God, it was 2 weeks ago already. All right. So I want to follow up with a conversation I had, 2 subjects with the Mass Fish and Wildlife Department. Great guys. I talked to them real quick. As you know, we've discussed the lead law, and there's been a big gray area that we have tried to figure out on our own as anglers. So I got some instruction from them.
Yep.
Because the big thing is, in the law, it says lures can be lead.
Yeah.
Well, what's a lure? Is a jig head that's dressed a lure? Is a spinnerbait a lure? Is a chatterbait a lure? Can those items be made of lead in the state and be used? So here's what I got from them. We talked about what the definition of a lure is. And a lure is a jig head, for the purpose of this law, a jig head that is dressed in any way, shape, or form. So a crappie jig with bucktail on it. A jig head inside of a tube, a jig head with a plastic worm on it, like a shaky head, a Ned rig. Those are all lures. Spinnerbaits are lures. Chatterbaits are lures. So anglers out there in Massachusetts, just so you guys know, because this was clear, thankfully, finally for me, because I got it from the horse's mouth. Those are all lures and are all legal to be used on our waters. What is not legal are weights. So those of you guys out there that are drop shotting, you have to use something other than lead, and most people do anyways. Tungsten seems to be the way to go with feel on it anyways. Where a jig head is not considered a lure is three cases. If for whatever reason you are throwing a lead jig head out there by itself, which good for you, I guess, that is not considered a lure. That must be lead free under an ounce. Same case if you are throwing it with live bait or dead bait. So naked, live bait, or dead bait, those are not lures. They must be lead free. But anything else?
A plastic is okay.
Plastic is okay.
Okay.
Yes, a plastic is a lure. So that's what I learned. Second thing, I learned something else. I told you this, Bobby. I was about, we're going to call it 75% right as far as freshwater and half right overall with species that can go in and out of salt water. So I've maintained for years, and this is what I thought just based on my own STF research, looking at stocking records of years past in, Western Mass. I always maintained there were three native species of fish in the state, being chain pickerel, brook trout, and yellow perch.
Yep.
I was incorrect. There was a fourth freshwater species, yellow bullhead. Was not aware. And then two other species that didn't even cross my mind because they're not totally freshwater, white perch and Atlantic salmon. So 6 species total in the state are native. And I don't know what Atlantic salmon populations are still around. Does Quabbin have them? They just have lake trout, right?
No, I think there's Atlantic salmon still in Quabbin.
They have landlocked salmon there?
I think so.
Yeah. So there you go. So I learned that. So there's my follow-up for that. I want to get this out of the way first. It's that time of year. Fuck the clock changes. This is stupid. Anybody want to fucking step up and, Congress? Binya Outdoors. Pardon me. Bobby just jumped in on that. Binya Outdoors wants to know what a fucking yellow bullhead is. Look it up. I'm not.
It's a horn pout.
It's a horn pout. Let's get back to clock changes. I'm all fucked up. I have problems sleeping anyways, and you throw a clock change in there, now I'm really fucked up. And once again, I'm angry about it because it's stupid, unnecessary, and it's bullshit. Anybody want to add anything to that? Bobby, Joe? No?
Nope.
Yes?
My kid slept an extra hour this morning, so I guess that was a good thing.
They didn't really sleep an extra hour. They slept the same amount of time, right?
Yeah. It's tomato. Yes.
No. Sucks ass and doesn't suck ass.
I agree that this is the one the clock change that I appreciate because we get more daylight later in the day. Yeah. This is that changeover where I'm like, thank freaking God. You know what I mean? Is it inconvenient? Does it give, my biggest issue with the clock changes, honestly, it's, I'm lucky enough I can kind of get up when I need to. I have responsibilities and shit that I need to. But on a weekend, like in the mornings, I don't have to get up unless I want to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. My point of view is I struggle.
My biggest issue is how once there's clock changes, there is this perceived idea that it's okay for people to be late to fucking everything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
fair enough.
They're like, I forgot what time trivia started. When the clock changes, no, clock changes didn't affect that at all. It's still 7 p.m. You know what I mean? You had an entire day to figure that shit out. So something like that. Or when I, set up an appointment or something and people are just like they don't change their clock. And nowadays, like your phone and all that shit just changes automatically.
Yeah. I think where it fucks me, it used to fuck me up the most is when I used to work the weekends. Like you really feel it when you're like, fuck, like now I gotta get up. Like I gotta set that alarm. It's going to be an hour earlier. So
you just reminded me of something, Joe. I used to work overnights in television. That was the fucking worst.
So you're working an extra hour.
Not only are you working an extra hour, but you're like, okay, all this programming now goes back. I have to fill like an extra hour, or now, the news is starting that much faster. I wasn't prepared for, or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you get out of work and you're just like, what the fuck? You got to sleep. Oh man. I feel bad for third shift workers anyway. It sucks.
Oh, it's garbage.
Joe and I share an experience that occasionally falls this way, Bobby, that you haven't had is So the weekend comes where there's a clock change, right? You're already all fucked up. Your body is trashed from that because military stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what you got today? PT test. That is miserable. That is a level of hell. All right. Hey, guess what? You don't run that mile and a half in under 12 minutes. You're in deep shit. Your life will be hell for the next 6 months until you finally do it. Yeah. And then the other clock change comes up and you're fucked up again.
Well, I'm sure you guys saw my picture on Instagram
yes.
last week.
Yeah. I did, yeah.
The old ruck march with the troops, and I'm getting old. It hurts a lot more every year.
I'll bet you it does, dude. I couldn't even imagine.
Yep. I had to pick up my son from work yesterday, so I ended up taking like a 2-hour nap, knowing full well that I was going to be all fucked up for this. Got up for an hour, made sure he was picked up, took care of it, tried to go back to bed, couldn't, slept for 3 hours. That's how my body works. I was fucked up. And it happens every 6 months. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I can't get to sleep. Like if I have a good night of sleep, I've touched 7 hours.
Yeah.
And that's maybe 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah.
Like tops.
Yeah.
So it sucks. But that being said, hopefully legislation goes through,
Well, we talked about this last time too. Like, I genuinely think, like most people, they adjust to it and then they're just like, they forget, and like, who knows if this is actually going to fucking go through or not. Benny Outdoors chimes in. He goes, worst part about clock change is that my parents don't know how to set the clocks in their vehicles. You talk about getting older. That comes with it. He goes, so I end up having to remember the 17 button sequence to do it. Yeah, that's rough. And these days in automobiles, it's a whole lot more difficult. Oddly enough, my 4Runner still has a digital clock on the dash with the hour and the minutes button that I can just hold down and change anytime, which is so like 1990s technology. I can't believe it's still they still include it as part of it. And I have a clock on my.
What yours, Bobby? Yours
2022.
No shit, mine doesn't have it.
Well, it's a 4Runner thing. I don't think it's a Tundra thing.
It's a classic feature.
I'll tell you, and that's one of the things about like 4Runner drivers that they will tell you. They're like, this vehicle, even though it's a 2022 or anything, the Gen 5 has so many features. Like that engine hasn't changed in like 20 years, 25 years maybe. It's ridiculous. Yeah. There's so much about that vehicle the transmission hasn't changed. It when you drive it, it feels like driving a car from the 90s. I fucking love it. But that's just because that was my generation.
The last thing I'll say about the clock changes is it really fucks with your head. Like for people like us who let's just say, on a fishing standpoint, when when the fall comes, that you're setting that clock back. Like, yeah, it's cool. You get extra, some people get an extra hour of sleep, quote unquote. But that it's depressing because that's when it's like, fuck, it's instantly darker.
Yep.
And then you instantly lose an hour of fishing.
Yep. You're getting up early for that first light bite.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it changes everything.
Yep.
We're also in a unique position in the part of the country where we're at, where we are the extreme end of a time zone.
Yeah.
Where we should really be Atlantic time. And it's fucking stupid. That's another thing that's been bandied about, and basically what it comes down to in the Northeast, it's all New York's fault. No one wants to do anything without New York say so. I mean, good for New York, but this doesn't make a lot of sense on a number of levels. So fuck it. All right, on to more shit. Fucking, I'm done with it. Anybody else got any clock change shit? We'll see you in fucking November. Yeah, we'll see you in November. We got that out of the way. Got my follow-up stuff. Yep. I have been feeling well enough physically where I got out. I went on my dock, took a walk on my dock, decided to bring just a single bait caster with a chatterbait on.
Yep.
First cast of the year. First largemouth of the year. Very happy. I got about 10 casts in. Yeah, thank you. I got about 10 casts in, and my arm said, all right, that's enough, and I stopped. But I was happy to get that one in. So I'm on the board for 23. Good for me. Next up, today, we'll expand a little bit because now I'm going regional here. So I went down to 3 Bells. The NAR is in my possession. I am waiting on one piece for its completion. So I put a little video up today. on Instagram, myself and Lauren, having a little laugh, saying, "Hey, here I am. Choose 3 bells for all your needs." And my NAR is all completely rigged except for the forward-facing sonar transducer arm is en route.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, so the transducer itself is packaged and neatly placed under the seat and kind of held there. And as soon as the arm gets here, that's all mechanical stuff. Take me 10 minutes. So that thing will be rigged up and ready to go. But Ted did a really, really good job. I helped him out with some of the wiring today. We got that done and good stuff. So hopefully I'll be on the water in 2 weeks. This is 5 weeks removed from my surgery, and they said 6-week heal time. I mean, I'm shooting hoops out in the yard with my son. I took 10 casts. Man, hopefully next week I'm out on the boat doing some fishing and learning live scope, which will be fun. And then the final thing I have, which blew up a small corner of the internet, probably bigger than I think, but this was fun. Anybody who listens to the show knows that occasionally I might mention one of the other podcasts I listen to, which is actually a couple of Jim Cornette, who's the former manager, of numerous wrestlers in the 80s, 90s, even in the late 70s.
Yep.
And he has an interesting take and a historical take on the wrestling business, and I love listening to it. I don't watch much new wrestling at all. I don't watch WWE. I don't watch AEW. But man, do I love listening to his take. He reviews these shows.
Yep.
So over the course of his time reviewing this, my understanding is at live events, fans have been dissuaded in the past or have actually had the signs taken away from them when it's referenced Jim Cornette because he's shit on the new business or on the modern business so often. And I did not know when my son wanted to go to Monday Night Raw for his birthday.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Brendan, by the way. And we went. And we fucking ponied up for good seats. We got the VIP seats. We were on the 3rd row in front of the hard camera all night.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. He wanted to make a sign. So I said, all right, I'll grab a couple poster boards while you're at school and tell me what you want and I'll do it up for you. So he wanted, his nickname, his buddies call him, and a 316 on there referencing obviously Stone Cold back in the day. Yep. And I was sitting there looking at the other poster board for a second. I had a stroke of genius. So I decided to play Pictionary by myself. And instead of writing Jim Cornette rules, which could have, and I can't say this for certain or not, could have gotten taken away from me.
For sure. Yeah.
I simply drew a corn emoji and a butterfly net emoji. Corn net. And I held that up all fucking night and no one took it from me, particularly when wrestlers that Cornette has not exactly favored in his rants were on screen. And if anybody watched Monday Night Raw last night and you saw that sign, that was fucking me. I was displaying proudly my Jigs and Bigs sweatshirt whenever I stood up. So that was fun. And then when I got home, because Cornette has such devoted followers, he actually refers to them as a cult of Cornette. There was a Reddit thread and 2 Facebook threads that started just saying, hey, there was a cult member at the show.
That's freaking awesome though. So yeah, I had some fun with that. I did have to ask the admin, who was also the co-host of his podcast, for permission to put the pictures up because there was some confusion as to who was actually holding the sign up because I was in a crowd of people, Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to clarify that it was in fact me. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I had to reach out and say, hey, these okay to put up here because I'm wearing my podcast shirt. I don't want to get busted for, shameless plugs on the Facebook group. And no, he was okay with it. And unfortunately, they had recorded their podcast the next morning, and it was kind of before, the conversation. Broke, right? Yeah, well, it was there, but it wasn't really super noticeable. And then I'm kind of hoping that they have another one dropping tonight. I'm hoping that it maybe get mentioned in there. If not, whatever. That'd be awesome. Hopefully Jim Cornette had a laugh over my ridiculousness and my simplicity. I made a G-rated sign. Of all the people to make a G-rated sign, it was clever. It was me. And I did and see on one of the. I think if he's gonna give any sort of a tip of the hat or a kudos or anything, it's gonna be on how clever it was. It was G-rated too. That's the big thing. I didn't draw a dick.
Now,
which for you is amazing.
The corn and the butterfly net were gender neutral. There were no penises on them. So
Penis free.
yeah, and the high point of all this was when I was going through the Facebook likes. I just happened to laugh, and Jim Cornette's wife saw it, so I'm guessing she showed it to him. I
Probably.
hope,
Yeah.
But there's my fucking 35 seconds of fame. I held up the corn net sign.
That's pretty freaking awesome, man.
And that's all I got, dude. That was my week. There's a lot of shit.
Well, somebody had to go to the New Hampshire outdoor show and with all the shenanigans. And luckily, Joe was the man on the scene up there. What do you got for us, Joe?
Yeah, so I went up there Saturday. Me with the wife and the little one took a trip out there.
Nice.
Wanted to meet up with the Fresh Baits guys. John, Tony, and Nate were up there.
Yep.
So I went up there, hung out with them for a bit. Like I said, I saw Noelle Roth. I saw Lauren there. And you know who I saw? Our neighbor from our show. Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
He recognized me right off the bat. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, he was up
that's
there
awesome.
too. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
he was up there, same thing, just sitting there by himself, eating his little.
Did he ever get his remote to work for his screen?
He asked me about it too.
I don't remember seeing a TV there, actually, now that I think of it.
After the Springfield show, he's just like, you know what? Screw this. I don't need it. I got signs.
Yeah, seriously. So so obviously I went around, looked around. It wasn't, I will say wasn't, there weren't as many vendors as like the Boxborough show.
Yeah.
I was a little bummed out about that because there were a couple of vendors I was hoping that were going to be there that weren't.
Yeah.
But it was, there's still quite a bit. It's also a smaller little, it's in one of those like air sports domes.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So it's cool. It's a nice venue. There's a few people there. I did buy a couple rods. I went to, so the Fresh Baits booth was neighbored with Doomsday.
Oh, that's right. And you told me about the special there, Rob.
So, and the crazy part is I go over there and it is buy one, get one free rods. Buy one, get one free rods.
How do you turn that down?
You can't.
You don't.
You absolutely 100% can't. I've never thrown them. Cody Lockwood swears by him, or he had. So I was like, what?
Absolutely.
I'll give it a shot. So I bought their cranking rod, which is a gnarly rod. It's like I think it's a 710 medium heavy.
Really?
So yeah, we'll give that a shot. I'll throw some crankbaits on that. And then I got what else did I get? I think it was a 7.6 heavy for like a jig rod.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I got the J-Dam. I'll be the first one to tell you I don't typically give a shit about what a rod looks like, but I was never a huge fan of like that cream colored rod that they have with like the red on it.
Yep.
It's just my personal preference. So, but those J-Dam rods, they're more expensive, but they're a good looking rod. So I'll give those a try. I'll rig those up. And then I went over and I saw Spence from Berkshire Bass.
So, that's awesome.
Yep. So I went over, saw him. We chatted a little bit. Getting ready. I'm going to be I try to get into a couple of his tournaments. So we talked about that a little bit. And he actually hooked me up with what we'll talk about later, the bait of the week. So we'll work on that as well.
That's awesome.
And then, so.
Hi, Meg. Hi, Meg. It's me. Listen, I know I've refinanced the house 3 times in the past 5 years. Doomsdays, buy one, get one. Hello?
So it's funny. So when I bought them, I stuck them behind the like Fresh Baits, like their signage there, like like the canopy there.
Oh yeah.
And we're leaving. I'm going, high fives, see it, giving hugs, saying bye to those guys. And I go, oh Meg, hold on one second. And I go back there to get them, and I came out with the 2 rods because she did not know that I got them.
Of course. That's a pro move right there.
Yeah. And then, I think it's one of those rods. It's like 7 fucking feet, 10 inches. My bed's 5.5 in my truck. So, that thing's fucking flopping around on the highway. So I had to like Jimmy rig that up. But
I'm familiar with the sensation.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The old elephant.
Yeah, it happens, yeah.
So that was the New Hampshire show. It was, it's a good show. In my, opinion, the Boxborough one's a little bit better. Just a better turnout of vendors. But I still like. I just still like going to them.
Oh, of course. I love going to shows like that.
Yep.
I considered too. I was like, Saturday, I was like, I got nothing going on this weekend. Maybe I'll take a ride up. Maybe. And I woke up on Saturday. I was like, I'm not taking this up there.
Yeah.
No way.
Yep. So that was my show experience on Saturday.
Oh, we got a couple more jig heads joining us. We got Jay Manning says, evening, folks. Jerry comments and he says that he's got to get down to the valley in order to get out. That he's still got ice up the shears.
We're gonna have a lot more this week too. We're getting whacked.
We're supposed to get pretty freaking hammered with some cold temps. And then Vidal joins us. He says, "Evening, everyone. How you doing, buddy? Greetings out to Texas. What do we got? Yeah, so we're doing all right tonight, guys. Let's see. What else do we have going on here?
I think we covered everything except, you know what? I forgot to write something down. I did my annual fishing shit order, and it all came in this week. So
that's right.
All my shopping except for one item.
Yep.
Is all done. So I am ready to rock for the year.
This is a big year for you for upgrades between the NAR, the forward-facing sonar, and the standard update upgrades of or the standard re-upping of plastics and terminal tackle and stuff and everything. I'm sure that you reloaded on.
Yeah, we have a nice dining room table, and I went ahead and covered it in a sheet, and it's completely covered in my fishing shit. I hope everything's ready by Wednesday. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not going fishing Wednesday, but I hope everything's straightened out and I'm good to go. I where you and I went, Bobby, to pick up lures, I think I called you and said, hey, they restocked, and I got another couple fistfuls of Lucky Craft jerkbaits. So that's fun to play with.
Speaking of jerkbaits, I spent some time throwing around a couple of A-Bay lures, jerkbaits.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, man, so I wouldn't have known from the conditions at Chick had I thrown them. But I didn't need to get that finessey. I was ripping lipless and chatterbaits and everything, and we were catching them. That was doing the job. But I would have known the action. But up here, our water is so much clearer. And specifically, I was over at Pequot Pond, and I threw out this one jerk. And what amazing action. Just slash and stop. Just boom, boom, boom. Sexy. I love it. Great job. Great job, Chris.
There's poop in the water.
Yeah, hope you rinse that fucking thing off after.
No, I took the thing and I licked it. I was like,
even better.
Yeah, even better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is it spicy?
There's poop in this water. There's septic.
This
Why
water's
Bobby
got sepsis.
Bobby got pink eye?
It's like you've been eating chocolate-covered pretzels.
Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? Oh, my God. Oh, hey, we got Rob Drummond in the house, too. He says, what's up, dudes? How you doing, Rob? Jerry throws this out here. He goes, I went up there today to spread the money around to Berkshire Bass, Rocky Ledge, and Fresh Baits. That's awesome.
I like to hear that, Jerry. Wish I saw you yesterday, but I wasn't there that long. But dude, with Spence and explains the cough.
Touche.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah, it's bad. Yeah, unbelievable. I think that's going to do it for our first segment. We did great for time. We
ripped through that shit.
We really did. That was a lot that we got through. So, guys, coming up in our next segment, we have Joe's got a lot for us. We've got an FTG here that is just chef's kiss as far as asshole individuals right here. Just it's beautiful right there. Not chef's kiss to assholes. You know what I'm saying? Unless
you're into that.
We also have a bait of the week, one that I've been I have no experience with, but I am so all in with this bait. Like I want to get my hands on one and throw one so badly. We're talking about the Magdraft bait of the week. That's coming up next segment, guys. We will see you in a bit. Oh, and all kinds of really good tourney stuff for you coming up. And then later, we're actually going to replay the live stream from Binya Outdoors that I was on this Saturday, hacking my brains up. It's going to be great. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you guys in about 2 minutes. Don't go too far.
Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torrej. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Torrej.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
You know, we are no stranger to calling people out for just acting a fool in the fishing community. And trust me, they seem to just, it's almost like it's a challenge now. They just keep going to that next level over and over and over. And Joe has a tale that is amazing. And I actually kind of want to bounce off of this.
Yeah.
So go for it, Joe. Tell us the tale.
Yeah. So shit. This was, it was, I think it was the day before I told you guys about it. So it was a few days ago. I'm coming back from my place of employment. I take the Mass Pike, and, I like to, flirt with danger every once in a while, see how low my, gas mileage will get. So I was like, I'm on the Pike. I'm like, you know what? I was like, fuck, I better stop here. So I'll say exactly where I went. So I stopped at the Ludlow Plaza.
There you go.
Eastbound. And there's this gentleman in there, and he's probably, I'd say late 40s. And he's pulled in, and he's got a brand new Camus CX21 attached to his boat. Beautiful boat. I mean, the thing was gorgeous. And I'm the type of person where I don't really like people that much. So I like, I'm not the type to approach people and start a conversation, but being a boat guy, and somebody else I fish with has a Camus as well. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to approach. He was just kind of fucking around with the side of the gunnels, reaching over the gunnels and stuff. So I'm going to go, tell him he's got a nice boat. So I go over there, I start a conversation with this guy. I tell him hey, I rock a Skeeter. Camus was actually the other boat I was looking at. We got a conversation about that. Mm-hmm. And basically the conversation from him turned into if you don't have a big boat, then you're essentially just like a peasant. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't be fishing tournaments unless you have a completely decked out tournament, $90,000 tournament boat.
Exactly.
And essentially, he's like, I'm sick of these guys showing up in these piece of shit boats to the tournaments. And now that I'm saying this, I didn't even ask him what he had before. I should have, because who knows? He might have had the piece of shit, or if he even had one.
Yeah.
So
he had a Walmart Sun Dolphin kayak. That's
what I'm saying. So it's me, I am blessed to have a really nice boat.
Yeah.
I'm extremely happy, but at the same time, it's not something I would ever. I mean, I could be an asshole sometimes, but I would never throw in my face
Hey,
in anyone's
we're
face.
all
like,
from Massachusetts.
Yeah. and you know, and I told you this guy, and I told you this, you know, before, you know, I do a lot of tournaments and I see a lot of gorgeous boats. And guess what? All those people rolling up in the brand new Rangers, the brand new Camuses, brand new Skeeters. I don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah.
They don't make me nervous. You know who makes me nervous? That fucking 65-year-old guy who rolls up with his 1988 Bass Tracker at the back of it. Like, because that, you know, that dude's been around. He's been in a few tournaments. And you know what? I see those fucking guys win way more tournaments than, you know, the dudes rocking the $90,000 boats just because they think it looks good.
Exactly.
You know, and it's just like, it kind of like I was having the friendly conversation with the guy, and then when he kind of, you know, started going, you know, and he's kind of like, you know, guys like us who have nice boats, right? And I'm just like, I'm like,
don't put me in that category with you.
Yeah, we are not on the same page, pal. And it just like, just as he was just so pompous about it, and I was just like, oh well, you know, good luck with your boat, and I walked away, and I told you guys, I think, you know, when I got home, but just like, yeah, I told my wife, I was like, this asshole, I was like, you know, and those are kind of guys that give these, you know, because I do a lot of different opens and tournament series and stuff, and those are kind of guys that give all this a bad name. And you know, I want to see that guy, you know, that young kid who just spent, you know, every fucking dime he had to buy that, you know, 1990 Bass Tracker for $2,000 because he wants to start. You have to start somewhere. You know, I have way more respect for those guys and those young kids because I'm seeing that. I'm seeing the young kids going, you know, coming to the tournaments with these boats. And I don't give a shit if your boat's older. You know, because I'll be the first one. If for some reason you have motor issues or something, I'm going to tow you in because I respect that you had that you had the courage to get out there. No matter, it doesn't, as long as you're meeting the criteria for the tournament, who gives a shit what your boat looks like? You know, what kind of boat it is, what year it is. I don't care. I was like, you know, I was fishing bass tournaments a couple years ago in a fucking multi-species V-hole, you know, in a sea of you know, bass boats. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just in my opinion that those are the kind of guys that, you know, make these tournaments, you know, a little, what's that word I'm looking for? Just like it kind of shies or scares, you know, people away who would be, you know, good competitors within the tournament series.
Because they don't have that status symbol.
Yeah. Just because, because you're financially stupid.
You know how they say hindsight is 20/20. The number one like comeback to that when he starts going, you go like, oh, this is a really nice boat, but how do you get by living your life with a micro penis? I mean, how do you?
Yeah.
That's pretty much, you know, that's where it goes.
Yeah, and the best part is he was pulling it with a truck that was probably worth a quarter of the you know.
He had a repainted 1985 mail delivery truck, post service delivery truck. Now, I have to ask, at what point did he jump in with and man, you know, us boat guys, we got to stick together and pay a lot of money. Hey, by the way, aren't you excited about the clock change next week? That's what kind of a piece of shit he was.
You know, it's funny, Joe, because I didn't even think about this until just freaking now. But remember that post I talked about, you know, the International Women's Day post, and all this crazy stuff that was going on with it. And I mentioned how there were all these crazy comments.
Yeah, I was just reading it a few minutes during the break. Yeah.
So there's this one comment that came across, and it kind of like, I couldn't get it. I still can't get it off my mind because I'm like, where is this coming from? And this came from a woman. She writes, female anglers are few and far between in the Northeast. Go south and there are entire tournament trails for only women, and they're highly competitive. I think and this is the part that I think bothers me the most. I think I'm one of maybe 3 women I know in the Connecticut/Massachusetts area with a bass boat of my own. What the fuck does that have to do with it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, you nailed it. Like, just being a financial dumbass. And, you know, like, it is a terrible, terrible decision to buy a boat like that.
I'll be the first one to say, like,
I mean, the return on investment is so, like, there's I forget the YouTuber's name, but he's got a finance background.
Yep.
And he was like, so let's crunch the numbers. He's like, if you're going to do this and you're going to do it the right way.
I know exactly who you're talking about. But yeah, keep going. I've seen this.
And he goes, you're going to do this the right way. So this is what you're going to expect to pay on the boat. This is what you're going to expect to pay to insure it. This is what you're going to expect to pay on average for fuel if you were to fish X amount of days a week, something like that. Then you need to build a barn or a garage to put it in. Because this is your investment. You've got to take care of it.
Yep.
It's just crazy, but yeah, it's like I read that comment in the international in there, and when she wrote, I think I'm one of maybe 3 women that I know in Connecticut and Massachusetts with a bass boat of my own. I was just like, what? Why did you even mention that? Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like,
it's you know what, guys. I think this fishing season I'm going to become the Jigs and Bigs investigative journalist, and I'm gonna
love it, dude.
I'm gonna get all of the rankings from these tournaments I go, and then I'm gonna put the fucking boat that they had next to it. What? Oh, guess what? The people who fucking do the work to win these tournaments don't give a shit what boat they're in.
Yeah,
very rarely I know a couple guys who are just crazy sticks and they have nice boats. But other than that, one of the best sticks I know, and I'm going to throw his name out there, and you guys have probably heard, I know Shawn has heard of him or knows him, Jeff Tibbetts.
Yeah. Yep.
He rolls around in like a 1989 Gambler bass boat that's a fucking suicide machine.
Yeah.
And and you know what? That guy's one of the fucking best sticks I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because his focus is on the fishing.
Yep. And I know for a fact this dude, in the tournament trails that he's done, he's won like 3 bass boats. You know what he does? He fucking sells them. He sells them.
Yeah.
And he keeps that fucking Gambler, and because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. As long as that fucking thing floats and it has a live well, go get it done.
You can make it happen.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Oh my goodness.
That's all I got to say about that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But now it's time to shift gears a little bit, guys. Now we got
Jigs and Bigs, bait of the week.
I love it. I love it. And this is our first big swim bait that we're going to talk about on bait of the week. This is awesome.
Yeah. Yep. So so this is something I've been one thing I like to do every year, and I think I've talked to you guys about that. I know I've talked to Bobby about this. Every single year, I try to become comfortable with a form of fishing that I'm uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
I try to build that confidence.
I'm with you.
In something else every year. And this year, it's not so much. I still can't buy off on that swim bait game where you're paying $150 to $500 on a bait. I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I got a boat to pay for. We just talked about it. I'm
totally understandable.
Stupid,
Yeah.
Financially stupid. I already have that big loan. I don't need to take a loan out on a swim bait. So and it's funny because I go on eBay all the time. I love eBay. Yep. I look for fishing stuff. There's fucking baits on there for like $2,500 to like $3,000. Swim baits, custom, one of a kind.
Yeah,
not for me. But I'm a huge fan of Ben Milliken. Love the guy.
Yep.
I love what he does. A lot of people give him a lot of shit, but he's out there doing it. He catches hogs, whatever.
Oh yeah.
So the one thing I wanted to get into this year is like a large, like soft swim bait. And my first one I bought was a Magdraft. I went and saw Spence Cookson, Berkshire Bass, his booth yesterday. And I was like, listen, man, like, tell me about this thing. Like, I've been trying to pull the trigger. What do you think? He's like, you need to do it. And Spencer wouldn't bullshit us. He wouldn't bullshit me. He's like, I catch donks on this thing. So I ended up purchasing a couple of the 8-inch. The 8-inch, I was, so you guys could see, and everyone, all the jig heads. So this is a Shiner back, I think it's called, but that's the 8-inch. So they have this. I think this one's a 3/0 treble hook, and I haven't thrown it yet. I don't know what it does. But the thing that did kind of I'm very apprehensive or skeptical about is, so you see the hook system here, right?
Oh yeah.
So this actually comes down, right? And it's connected by a magnet.
Yes.
Okay. So here's where I'm apprehensive. So 13 Fishing came out with a walking bait a couple years ago that kind of had the same system, a similar system. It wasn't a treble hook. It was a dual hook, and it had a magnet system, and it came across the body like this to tuck it so you could put it across weeds and shit.
Yeah.
I missed so many bites on that thing because I don't know if the magnet was too strong, but sometimes it just wouldn't come down.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep. So that's where I was apprehensive when I saw the magnet. But Spencer's like, nope, get it, fucking do it. And obviously, you know, Ben Milliken, love the guy. I watch all of his videos. He's a big fan of these. So yeah, so I'm gonna give that a try. I bought the 8-inch. The thing about this is, especially if you're gonna throw the 8-inch, you have to have that like big swim bait gear.
Yeah.
This is a smidge over 3 ounces.
Yeah. It's not the heaviest bait, but it's up there.
Yeah, it's up there. So I actually I purchased the 6 cents Milliken rod for it, his swim bait rod. And I had a 13 Fishing A3 like sitting around like so that I'm going to throw on there. So that's what I'll be throwing on that. Throw like a 20-pound fluoro. That's what I'm going to cover it. Across the grass lines in the spring and whatnot. I also got the 6-inch. I got a couple of these.
Yep.
This is the albino color, but same system. It's the same magnet system. Just I want to say this is a 2-aught hook. These are about a little over 1.25 ounces. So you can get away throwing these on like on a jig rod. Something like
heavy
that.
Rod, something like that.
Just a heavy rod. So I grabbed a couple of those. I'm really looking forward to throwing them. It's Megabass. They're not cheap.
What's the price point on those?
So it's really not. So when you think swim baits, you think money, and they are expensive. They're not cheap, but the 8-inch is $25, I believe.
Yeah.
Which isn't terrible for it being Megabass.
It's reasonable.
Because we all know Megabass is some of that shit's way overpriced, but it works. The 6-inch was, I believe, $15.
It's funny too. Like I know the guys in Tactical Bassin love the Magdraft a lot.
Yes,
in fact, they swear up and down that the 8-inch is that's your first go-to if you're going to get into that world because it will just call in bites from a distance, which is good. So if you're kind of into that. But there's so many swim baits that are out there that are great to get into to try. Like the River to Sea S Waver is another one. That's it's in the grand scheme of things, it's affordable. You do have those entry like 6 cents makes the draw and the trace. Oh yeah, yep.
Which I forget. I think it's the draw that's the bigger one. That's big money. Those are like $75 a piece. They're not cheap.
See, I thought the Magdraft had a jig hook on top as well.
No,
it's just that simply, treble on the bottom.
Yeah, it's just that treble on the bottom.
Interesting. I got to get one of those.
That's it. And keep forgetting where my camera is.
Well, shit. I'll tell you what. You know what they say, Joe, about those big swim baits? Leave every other rod at home and just go and throw that. So I'll tell you, I'll make you a deal. Seriously, I'll make you a deal. If you want to block off some time and you and I go out with 2 rods, my swim bait rod and your swim bait rod, I'll take my swim bait box and we'll go, and that's what we'll do. We'll just throw them. Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah. I'm in.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? That's it. That's how what's going to happen is, the swim bait is what? It's the bait of 1,000 casts.
Yeah.
That's what they say. Those big baits are a bait of 1,000 casts. So the only way to get confidence in it is if you catch a fish.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
What's going to happen? And this is what I will do.
Mm-hmm.
I will throw like fucking 10 casts in the thing and be like, I ain't catching shit. And then I won't touch it for probably fucking 2 months.
It is such a different world of fishing.
Yeah,
it is its own separate thing, Yeah. I wouldn't even consider it power fishing, really. Because the things that you're doing it's so delicate. I mean, these are giant baits, but yet at the same time, the approach is so finessey in a way. It's awesome.
and especially when I picked up when I got that 8-inch, I'm talking to Spence and I'm like, dude, yeah, we have some big fish, but we're not Texas, we're not Florida, where there's all kinds of 7, 8, 9 pounders, rolling around. They're few and far between. He's like, oh no, dude. He's like, I will hit fucking I will have 15-inch fish hitting that 8-inch Magdraft like pretty consistently.
It's gonna get. That's the thing. Like, it will get bit by all types of fish, but.
Yep. So I was in. That's awesome. My that's the Magdraft, Megabass Magdraft. If you want it, I am going to plug Spence, Berkshire Bass. He has it online, as well as if you I think he's gonna be down at the Connecticut show with us as well.
Nice.
He's got so much of that Megabass shit, and he does it for a good price. So if go hit him.
I'm thinking about going this week up to Sheffield and just visiting if he's going to be at the shop.
Yeah, I've been wanting to so bad.
Yeah, might be
that's such a ride for me.
It's no joke.
Yeah, and to totally get off topic, but I was talking when I was talking to him about these baits. I was like, dude, do you keep the shop open when you're at these shows? He's like, typically, but not with the fucking way the ice has been this year. So he's
exactly.
like, I just closed it down.
Yep.
So, but yeah. So thanks, Spence. If you're listening, I appreciate the help with the Magdraft, and hopefully I'll catch some hogs on it.
That is freaking awesome, man. I'm psyched. We're gonna make that shit happen. I gotta look and see if there's. I always thought with the Magdraft, I was like, if there's a rainbow trout pattern in a stocked pond. Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they have.
I don't think they do either, but
they do have a baby bass.
Yep.
They have it's called. They do have a couple trout. So they have nude rainbow and they have stealth rainbow.
Ooh. Well, check out some colors. Yeah.
They got any yellow perch patterns?
That's a great question.
I'll bet you that'd fucking slam too.
They do not.
Make a few phone calls to Megabass.
Yeah, no shit. They do have one. They don't even have anything that's really close to one either, which is that's really unfortunate. But they have one to kind of signify like or simulate a brown trout.
Yeah.
Obviously gizzard shads, AUs, the baby bass. So yeah,
friggin' awesome, man. Are you ready, Shawn?
Oh, we got drums coming.
It's Dothraki time.
All right, we are recording this today on the 12th, clock change day, the date that will live in infamy. We're recording this on the 12th, so that means on the 15th, folks, you will be able to jump in on the test tournament. All right, this is the first time I've run one of these, so we're going to see if there's any speed bumps. First couple people to give that a try. We're going to see what happens. The test tournament is for those folks who have not fished Chronic Trips, Jigs and Bigs, or had a chance to use Fishing Chaos. And I want you guys to catch some fish. Put them on the board, and I'll let you know in advance. Is this right? Are there any issues with it? Would this be denied for any reason? And we want you guys to get used to these tournaments and how they're run and how to submit fish in them. So that way, when it is actually tournament time, we don't get fish disqualified because, something comes up that maybe we could have prevented it, previous in a free tournament. If you don't have an authorized board, catch board, or in some, if you can get a hold of one, we are allowing musky striper boards. There's certain kinds. Please pay attention to the rules on that. But if you need a catch board, please contact Three Bells. There will be some contact and ordering information on the rules. The rules are going to be pretty pretty stripped down, bare bones. And, if there's any questions, my contact info will be on there. But this is definitely if you guys are planning on jumping in on Jigs and Bigs or the Chronic Trips tournament, please do this test tournament if you are unfamiliar with the rules, procedures, etc. etc. I think that's all I got.
All right.
Get in there. Get it done.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah, that is all I got.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. Things are freaking chugging along. This is awesome. I think, does that about do it for us? Yeah, it does. It does do it for us as far as segment 2 goes. So we're going to take a short break, guys. We will be back with our third and final segment we got. This is the replay of my live stream that I did over on the Binya Outdoors YouTube channel. This was last night. We had a great conversation. We talk about the multi-species tournament. We also talk about kayak safety. We talk about rigging. We talk about specific baits. We talk about all kinds of good stuff. We also made some plans to get out, fish, and camp, and all kinds of good stuff. So we will see you in about 2 minutes.
Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing.
Let's get out there, catch more fish.
Hey guys, Mike here from Binya Outdoors. I have a special guest on this episode. I'm very excited to bring this man on. I've been talking to him a lot. You guys saw him
special, all right.
Exactly. You guys saw him on my Springfield Sports Show video, but I'll let him introduce himself. Bobby.
How we doing, guys? I'm Bobby Roastbeef. I'm the owner and host of Jigs and Bigs podcast. Perhaps you've listened to us. Maybe you've gotten written up at work because you've listened to something totally inappropriate for the workplace. But, you know, I'm here with Mike, Binya Outdoors, and we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a talk. We're going to be pretty fun. I think this is going to be pretty good.
So I wanted to bring him on because if you guys have been watching my videos, especially for the last year, I discovered the Jigs and Bigs podcast because I needed something to listen to while I was fishing. And I wanted something that wasn't music. I just needed something to zone out, and started listening to it. And I discovered this series of tournaments that they started to run. And it was something that captivated me because it just had this extra appeal. It was something that was a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. So I wanted to bring Bobby on to talk about this because they're doing a big push this year to try to grow this thing, but also because I really think that this is an important thing for beginning anglers to be able to get their feet wet into the tournament fishing world, as well as it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to let Bobby just talk about his tournament series.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Mike. It's so the tournament series, we've been doing this. Now this is our third year that we've been doing it. We started in 2020. We partnered with an organization called Chronic Trips, and they wanted to do an online multi-species style tournament, including saltwater. And a lot has changed since then. I mean, we started working with them immediately, and it was really great. The feedback was awesome. We had a blast doing it, and we grew out of that. Shawn had kind of changed and adapted some of the initial scoring. And, you know, it's like I said, we've seen a lot of changes. So the scoring is one thing that's really kind of changed. And it was up to last year, we kind of nailed it. We really did. And what we started doing last year was alternating months. We would do 1 month with it where it was Chronic Trips, where we would include saltwater. And then the next month was straight up freshwater, and it was under the Jigs and Bigs name. And the scoring is the same for both of them. And now it actually, the way it works out, it's more like a scavenger hunt than it is a traditional tournament. And that's sort of the way that we're trying to brand it moving forward. So, you know, now one of the major changes that happened with scoring is that it has more impact on your progress to catch as many different species as it is to get a lunker. So as long as you catch, we'll say a yellow perch, a chain pickerel, a largemouth bass, a smallmouth bass, any variety of trout, panfish, crappie, muskie, all these, the most popular sport fish are listed. You'll get a point each for having those in there. And if you get the lunker in that category, you're only getting an additional point for it. So it's not like you're losing these points because, maybe you've only got, a 14-inch largemouth or something along those lines. And there's strategy with this too. It's a whole lot of fun. And it was born initially. I wanted to do this so that I could engage with folks that listen to our show. It's awesome if I could go out and fish with everybody, but not everybody is located in the Northeast up here. So we've had, folks from up in Michigan, folks from Texas. We've had folks in Florida, of all ages too, get involved. And it's kind of a great setup. It's awesome for anybody who is a beginner competitive angler, or somebody who doesn't really give a shit really about tournament angling. Like, this is just a good way to kind of like do it in a lighthearted fashion. That's a lot of fun, but it's also really awesome if you are a serious tournament angler, because now when you catch that chain pickerel, if you're entered in our tournament, now it's not just a wasted bycatch. You can enter that for something, and it's got a little bit more value. So it's really, really interesting. And you can look at some of the guys that like have been just killing it. Like last year specifically, we call him Jerry Multi-Species House. He's a local guy, and he's a hammer when it comes to getting a wide variety of species. And he'll just get out there and put in the work and make it happen. And anybody can do this. That's the beauty of it. And it's really all inclusive. So you can do it if you're fishing from the bank. You can do it if you're fishing from a boat, a kayak, a John boat. It doesn't matter. You can get out there, and you could actually charter a trip, if you wanted, and go out and catch fish. I mean, fantastic. You can do it all. So it's really kind of a cool way to bring your fishing and kind of almost gamify it in a way, to kind of keep it fun. And this is another thing too. If you're a content creator and you're doing this is a great way to just have a month's worth of content that you can create. And then, it's you fishing and networking at the same time, quite literally, like fishing and networking. So
I do it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You got into it, what was it, like September? I think you got into it, September.
It was towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
It was right before I was on your show. I discovered it, and I was checking it out. And what's funny is the reason why I joined your series was because I was fishing in Rhode Island. So I was in a tournament called the Big Bass Challenge. So I was having to go to Rhode Island and fish Halloween weekend.
Oh,
and I wanted to practice.
Gotcha.
But there wasn't anything other than KBF Challenge Series, like the state challenge series. And I didn't want to pay $50 for a membership to practice. And I was looking for, like, honestly,
that's a good point. I never even thought about that. Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just use this because it's a great way to practice. And I'm going to do a video about this, guys, later. I'm not going to go into heavy detail, but the catch, picture, release style that this tournament is lends to, like Bobby was saying, bank fishing and everything. You can do it everywhere, but there is a, let's say, muscle memory to taking a fish out of a net, putting it on a measuring board, and getting that picture right. So I wanted to practice before I got down to Rhode Island where the money was on the line. So I was like, I'll just enter into this, and I'm like, it looks kind of cool. And I didn't even understand the scoring. Honestly, I just had I'd listened to the podcast, and I was like, they have a tournament series. I will say, guys, if you are highly competitive like me, you're going to laugh at yourself. I actually sent Bobby a message because I spent 2.5 hours one day trying to catch a bluegill. Like, you literally will look at this thing and you go, man, I need to catch a crappie. I got to get an 8-inch crappie or an 8-inch bluegill. You know what I mean? And it's the funniest thing ever. Like Bobby said, the scavenger hunt is probably the most accurate representation of what this is. It's not a highly competitive, you need to catch a 5-pound bass. It's literally, you could actually theoretically not have the biggest of anything, but if you caught one of every species, you're going to be in the top, if not winning. Yeah, depending on how it plays out. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, as long as you get a diverse array of fish that you're catching, like it's nice and easy, because then you've got a guaranteed point in every single category. Doesn't matter if it's the second biggest one or if it's the smallest. It's a point no matter what. If it's the lunker, awesome, you got an extra point. Sometimes it comes down to that,
But it's like it really does have more to do with the variety. You know, we have some guys who just enter bass constantly. So they have largemouth, smallmouth, and then in their NE5, because you can put multiple species in the NE5. So you want to keep your largest fish there to do well, you know? I mean, I say you want to put your largest fish there, but like you want to put the species that are, you know, kind of killing it.
Yep. Well, the strategy too, it comes into it. So that's actually the other thing that's really weird. You'll catch a, say, 18-inch bass here in Vermont.
Yep.
You have a largemouth that's 17 inches, but you know you can catch 19 inches at this other body of water all day. So you have this like mental battle with yourself. Do I put that in my NE5?
That's the strategy, yeah.
Or do I put it, you know, so like that's part of it is like it like Bobby said, it gamifies fishing. And honestly, one of the things that used to annoy me a lot, and it's funny because you wouldn't know this from my videos, but I catch a ton of rock bass.
Oh, yeah.
By accident. That means something with this tournament. You catch a trout, it means something. You catch a pickerel, it means something. Like it literally, instead of just catching this fish and be like, hey, I got a fish, I'm trying for bass, I don't care about this thing.
Yep.
One of the funniest things I ever had happen to me with this tournament, and I got I actually was watching the video, tried to make some content the other day. I spent 3 hours trying to catch a over 8-inch yellow perch.
Oh yeah.
Because I was behind in that category.
Yeah.
So I finally got a perch, got this thing in my hand.
Yep.
And I'm going to put it on my measuring board, and he squirts out of my hand and goes under my seat in my kayak. So I'm like
scrambling to get this poor fish. That's like, yeah, exactly.
How am I going to get this fish out of here and weigh it? Normally that would have been like, I'll just flood my kayak and shoo him out. So I'm pedaling like a madman to shore.
Yep.
There's people on shore bank fishing. So they see me coming in hot with this kayak, every once in a while flooding my kayak so that this fish doesn't suffocate while I'm trying to get to shore. Slide into the bank, pull my drive, jump out, flip my seat up, throw a measuring board on the ramp, and throw a 7-inch yellow perch on a measuring board and take a photo. And the eyes, it was just like, these guys are like, what is wrong with this guy? And I'm like,
it's crazy.
Hold on. I've got to explain this to you, because I felt like I needed to explain it. And actually, I think some of them said that they were thinking about signing up because of the explanation, because they're like, they literally saw me pumped to throw a 7-inch yellow perch on a measuring board, to the point where I was panting when I got to shore to get this thing measured and entered.
That's awesome.
And that's what this tournament does, is it creates, if you're highly competitive, it creates that like, I need to go find crappie. I need to go find a trout. I need to go find a catfish. If you're not highly competitive and you want to just fish from a bank, from a boat, that's the thing about the whole way the scoring system works, is you literally could catch most of those species, especially here in Vermont, on a stream bank. There's a lot of those species in all of our waters. So.
And there are, you know, it's funny because like there's gar on that list. There's redfish on that list. We put it under drum because redfish are a drum, you know, and like there are some species that you're not going to catch in the Northeast, but you know, also you're probably not going to get a northern pike down in Texas. You know, it's like it's a bit more of a challenge. So it's cool because it gives you it kind of gives you like a reason to go out and fish. Like it's one thing to go out, like I love fishing just because I think it's like cathartic, it's relaxing, it clears my head, it does a lot for me like health wise, you know, I love it. But you know, it's really kind of nice when I go out and I've got an agenda. Like there's something there where I'm like, oh, I got to catch this. Oh, well, look at this. We managed to get a chain pickerel, and that's a good sized chain pickerel. Well, let's measure this sucker, you know, and there's one thing this year that we are doing that we haven't done before, and we're streamlining the process for, especially for new anglers that haven't done this before, because you do need a very specific measuring board. You need to have a standard with your measuring board. So like, you know, your regular bump board that you pick up at like Walmart or something like that is not going to count. We need to have something that's got a standard to it, and catch is what is becoming the standard across all CPR style tournaments. So naturally we lean in that direction. The good thing is about catch is that they have a wide variety of different size boards and different materials. Like that one right there is the catch carbonite. So we have it now. So if you need a board, you can now, you know, register for the tournament and purchase your board and have it shipped right from Three Bells.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. It makes it really, really nice and streamlined.
You know what's funny about the catch board, guys? So I will say, if you're going to do this tournament, though, get the 32-inch one. Because the 26-inch one here in Vermont, you can get some bigger than 26-inch pike.
Yeah.
And I'm actually thinking about upgrading.
Sure.
Because of his tournament, I'm going to have to buy another catch board because I want to be able to measure the bigger pike because I'm maxed out at 26.
And there are other situations too. Like this is a good example where if you have a 26-inch board, like I've got a 26-inch board, but let's say I catch a carp and it's, 30 some inches, and I put that, well, basically what you do is you put the fish on the board. Okay. And then you take a tape measure. This is why I always carry a tape measure. And actually, any of your listeners, you guys should all do this too. Keep a tape measure, like a tailor's tape, like something that you can roll up. Because if you catch a giant and you want to do a replica, you need to get measurements of the girth and the length and everything. And that piece of what do you call it? That piece of measuring tape is going to help you get that done. But, because you have the standard board and the mouth is up against the board, the mouth is closed, that it's 26 inches. You're definitely going to get the 26 inches if it goes over. But if you have a measuring tape, you can line it up nice and even so that they're there and it will take the measurement off of the other one. And some people have done this, I think, with even like their paddles. Like you have a reference, and that's what you need is you need that reference point of what the catch board is. This is where the start is because it's easy to see.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
It's nuts, man.
It's funny because I think in my mind it creates, and that's because I'm highly competitive. So if you're highly competitive, think about this too, is it creates weird rivalries too.
Totally
because if you catch a bigger fish than the guy that has the largemouth, you knock him down. So now he has 1 point and you have 2 points.
Yeah.
So not only do you get you can steal points from people. So you're like, man, I can't beat him. I'm not going to catch a bigger pike. Maybe you think that, or this is not possible in your waters, but I could catch a bigger crappie. So I'm going to go crappie fishing and knock him down.
Yep, exactly.
And that's what happens is you end up like the scavenger hunt thing really truly does mean what it says. Like you end up like I've literally sent messages on Facebook like, hey guys, where can I catch big crappie? And it's weird because everybody's like, dude, you have a bass fishing YouTube channel. Why are you searching for crappie?
Yeah.
Or like I literally talked to a buddy that knows where there's big bluegill.
Oh, for sure.
And normally I wouldn't give a crap about a big bluegill.
Yeah, but hey, a point's a point. 2 points could be 2 points. It makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been doing any fishing yet? You guys got open water down there?
We do have open water now. It's cold as shit. But I've been out. I went out, I think, on Friday, and I was going to go out today. That didn't happen. But I think tomorrow I might go out too. It's all been bank sends for the most part. I like to kind of let the water get to, the high 40s or so before I throw the kayak in. But it's coming soon. I got the itch. What about you?
It's like mental health. It's mental health for me.
Oh,
it's
for
like
sure.
I was actually supposed to go ice fishing like a month ago.
Yep.
And I woke up and it's weird. Like, I don't know if it was instinct or what, but something told me not to go.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I was literally up at 4 a.m. packing my stuff.
Yeah.
Had everything ready the night before. And in my mind, I was like, and this is like probably 2 weeks after those guys in Champlain.
Oh yeah.
They had to
That's
rescue.
Right. Yep.
I'm sure you guys probably even heard about that. It was a big thing. Like they ended up having to bring an ice breaking boat and search and rescue out. And it was just like, this year has been the worst. Because I was planning on trying to make like ice fishing content, try to do stuff like that this year.
For sure.
And we got honeycomb ice. We got inconsistent weather. So I have yet to go out at all. And unfortunately, it's getting to the point where I think I might be coming to your state, honestly, to do some fishing.
Dude, I'm telling you, go to the Cape. Go out to the Cape. Like, is it a ride? Absolutely. You got to commit a full day to it. Yep. Leave super early because it'll take you a while to get there. But then, by the time you're out on the water, that water's had a chance to warm up a little bit. The Cape is great for that,
Yeah, Nate was telling me, he made me jealous, honestly, when I was talking to him last Sunday.
He's been out all winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, all winter long.
Yeah, he was telling
and
me.
He's been slaying it out on the ice, too.
Yep. Yeah, he was telling me that he was out, and I was like, no. He's like, yeah, dude, it's all open water down here. And I was like, and then I have my tournament director. I'm going to be doing Slay Nation tournaments. So he just built a John boat. He built like mini bass boat out of a John boat kind of deal. And he's been like talking to me a little bit, and he's like, hey, I'm thinking about going to Connecticut or Mass in a couple weeks. And I was like, because I don't want to do it in the kayak.
Yeah.
It's cold in a kayak. When that cold water hits that cold kayak, and you're that close to the water and the mist and stuff. It's
I'm
cold.
curious. How do you prepare for cold water fishing when you're in the kayak? Like, what's your system? I'll go through my system too, and tell you what it is. But how do you go and
Are
deal
we talking
with cold water?
to deal with the conditions or deal with the baits or both?
I'm talking more about like how you go, like what you're wearing to keep yourself safe on the water, like that.
So to be honest,
Yep.
you probably shouldn't do what I do because
Sure.
it's not as safe.
Yep.
I have hunting bibs that are like waterproof material with like a
Yep.
fur lining in them.
Okay.
And I wear those underneath a pair of actually Grundon's like waterproof bibs to keep water from getting on them. And they're like PVC style.
Oh yeah,
they're
those
like the ones
Grundons
that
are awesome.
They're like the ones that like they use
Yeah.
on Deadliest Catch and all that,
Yep.
like the stuff
Yep.
that's made to be rugged. And what it does is that PVC traps the heat in. And the thing with those is they both have, it's a safety thing in my mind, is they both have quick disconnects for the bibs. So if I were to hit the water, I could just snap those off and they would come off of me and not fill up with water.
Yep.
Because I know guys that have worn waders, and that's a bad idea because you become an anchor with waders. So
it's interesting, man. Like what are you wearing on your feet? Because like, are you able to launch your boat without getting in the water?
I haven't mastered that.
My
I
boat
figured it out.
My boat
I
is
haven't figured it out yet.
so my kayak is the Native Titan 13.5. It's a giant. It's a 14-foot boat.
Right.
It's absolutely enormous. And to move it around, I use the Boondocks landing gear, which are awesome. They're not an ideal fit for them, but
right.
Actually, Shawn had helped me last fall, retool them a little bit to add a little bit more rigidity to them. Yeah. So when I get out there, I go and I back my boat into the water, and I go out, and I can't do this without getting into like about up to my knees. Generally up to my knees, I have to get wet. So my whole thing is that I want to be wearing something that's going to keep my feet and the lower end of my legs as dry as possible. So what I've done is I'm a big fan of because I like to camp in the winter and the cold months and hike and stuff like that. So I'm a big proponent of always have a base layer on, like a synthetic or a wool base layer on. And so what I'll do is I'll wear that thermal underwear, the whole 9 yards, everything. And then I'll just put a pair of shorts on over it for the pockets, so I can keep like my keys and stuff and whatever it is that I need that's in my pockets, to have some storage in there. And then I have these Frog Togs, they're hip waders, and they're insulated. They were super cheap. They were like $70. I mean, they're not ideal. They're not the best fitting things in the world. And when you're out there in the direct sun, your feet are it's disgusting, but I take them off and I can empty them and drain the sweat that's been building up in there. It's terrible. So all winter this year, I took 4 or 5 of those silica gel packets, threw them in there, let them dry. They're hanging up. Everything's great. So I use that for my legs, and generally it's fine. Then what I'll do is I have a base layer on that I'll wear. I'll generally put on some type of a synthetic t-shirt or even a performance shirt on over that. Exactly, like something like that. Then I put on a mid layer, which is usually a synthetic style hoodie. So I've got one from AFTCO. I've got one from Nor'easter. I've even got one from Hooksett Hoodlums. And I'll put that on over that. Then I put my PFD on. And if it's really cold, I'll throw a knit cap on. And I'll do okay. I can get 4 or 5 hours out on the water, and it's okay. I usually will change a hat so that way, if I'm sweating, when the sun's really beating down, I'll swap that out so I'm not I don't have a soaked hat, but then I'll put it inside out and it dries out real quick. So it's that works out good. But for me, that's always been the biggest thing is I can't launch my boat without getting my feet wet. It's going to happen, so I gotta have something on.
For Rhode Island, I bought the NRS, the
those
wet
are awesome.
boot or whatever.
Yes,
they are. They really are. So they don't work. They work really good until it's real, real cold. When it gets real, real cold, then what happens is no matter what. See, the problem with me too is my kayak, the way I don't want to say over the limit on the weight,
Sure.
but I'm close.
Yeah.
So my kayak doesn't drain very well.
Yeah. I hear you, dude.
So I always have about 2-3 inches of water in my kayak.
Yep.
And my feet, the weird thing about the NRS boots is that if you don't get them wet, your feet will get cold in them because of the way they're designed to be wet. They're like a wetsuit.
They're neoprene, right?
Yeah, they're literally the same type of stuff that like your wetsuits are made out of. So it's supposed to get wet, so your body heat heats the water, which creates an insulating layer.
Yep.
My feet did get cold in those, and to be honest, I've worn like muck boots and muck boots.
Yeah.
So what I do is I got the winter ones that go like 3/4 knee boots.
Yes.
And I roll them down.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So you take them and you can actually roll it's
the
probably
PVC.
not good for it, but you just roll it out and pull it down so you can make almost like Hook makes them, Tough makes all the those little
the little the mini
ankle
ones.
boots.
Yep.
So I basically make those out of mucks because then if I have to get out, I can flip them up to step on the shore, and then I've got a knee high boot.
You've got it to be able to put up there. No, that makes sense.
I can just roll them back up, and they're warmer. But the problem is, like you said, the issue with those is I bought those for hunting. Those are rated for like 20 below.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not fishing in that cold weather, and when you're pedaling around and you're a big guy,
you're gonna burn it off.
You could pour them out.
Yeah.
They're wet.
Yep.
And the insulation in them is insulation, so they get wet.
It holds that water, and then it's a pain to dry them. You almost need two pairs, like one to just sit and dry. It's kind of nuts.
It's the cold weather thing is funny too, because like I never used to fish this early.
Yeah, me neither.
Before I started making content. But then now COVID is actually what really, I want to say ruined me, but actually to me it's like a benefit. But like that's when I was like, I need fishing.
Oh yeah.
Like it's a mental health thing for me. It's like, this is what I do to wind down at the end of the week. And I have a very supportive wife that I literally will leave at daylight and come back at dark. Like I'm gone all day.
That's awesome.
And she knows I'm making content. And honestly, to like bring it back around, that's actually why one of the reasons why your tournament series has helped me is as a content creator, there's days where you just don't catch bass. Like I know that it looks like on video, everybody's like, oh man, he always catches bass every time he goes out. No, you just don't see the 16 hours prior.
That's exactly it.
I'm not going to put a video up on my channel of me casting and reeling for 4 hours because you're not going to watch it.
Yeah.
But when I don't catch fish, what I do is I literally bring night crawlers in my kayak and bobbers. And I've actually done, the funniest thing I've done is I actually bring a jig fishing rod. Like ice fishing jig rod.
Oh, yeah.
With the spinning reel.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And I put a bobber on it, and I'll stuff it in my tank while in my kayak.
Yep.
And I fish for bluegill with it.
That's
because
awesome.
it's easy to stash that in your kayak. So if you want to catch
it's
perch
not
or
one
bluegill,
additional rod that you have to bring. That's actually a really good idea.
It's kind of a sneaky little trick. You just throw one of the little bobbers on it. You have a regular snelled eagle claw hook.
Yep.
I have night crawlers with me that I throw in my cooler or whatever I'm bringing with me.
Yeah.
And then when I'll stop and be like, you know what? I'm not catching bass. I'll pull up the app. I'll look at where I'm at in the tournament and I'll go, you know what? I bet there's bluegill over in that lily pad field.
Exactly.
I'll go over, I'll anchor down and I'll just relax. I'll just cast out a bobber on my little mini rod.
Yep.
And what's funny is I almost caught, and I know everybody always like overestimates the size, but I had a bass one time. I swear it was a 5-pounder.
Yep.
So I actually had these little tiny, Berkeley makes the War Pig Jr.
Yep,
they're
do.
like crappy lipless.
Oh yeah,
and I was using
like
that little jig rod.
Yep.
I was like whipping, like I was like baseball outfielder trying to launch this thing because there's no weight to it and it's not really a reel made to cast.
And it's so whippy that it'll just
literally had hooked the biggest bass I had caught in like 2 weeks.
No kidding.
On this little jig rod. And I got him to the boat and he shook it off because the hooks were so freaking small that they couldn't even really get through the meat of his mouth. But it was I was so pissed because I was like, if I could have caught a fish like this on video.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Freaking ranky dink rod. Then that thing was bent to the freaking reel. Like,
I'm sure
I don't know how I didn't break it.
Was the drag just screaming?
Oh man, it was. So what I did is I kind of cheated. So I actually used I had an old Daiwa G-Shock reel.
Okay.
and it was like a little one, but it was a real small size spinning
like a
reel. So
100
really like,
size or 1000.
yeah, it's like a crappie reel basically. Yep. So it's a little bit more robust because those actual jig fishing reels don't have
the ice fishing ones. They're so small.
To catch like they're because the fish aren't as active in the winter, so they're not fighting typically as hard as a summertime bass. So I switched out the reel and I actually ran like I think it was like 6 pound or 8 pound Mr. Crappie, like that camo Mr. Crappie line. So I had enough power there to catch the fish, but I was just like panicking because I was like, I think that's why I lost the fish, honestly, because when he got closer to the boat, I was like, I don't know how to finesse a fish with this long of a rod.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like
that's
with a regular rod, you kind of like do this, but I'm like, I really have to do this to get the rod over
at
the
that
edge.
point. Yeah, you can't boat flip with that thing. It's all net. It's all net. You got a net, using something that delicate.
But yeah, and that's the thing is like the winter time for me is a new game, even the fall, because I used to hunt. So I actually stopped hunting because of fishing, because I'd actually rather be out on the water in October than
in a tree stand.
Because honestly, there's a lot less competition.
I hear that all the time. All the time.
October 1st, those boat ramps clear out.
Yep, they clear out. And the fishing gets really good. Yep, it's nice. It definitely is. Like I would love to hunt. I really would. I just don't have the time for it. And I know to do it and do it right, it takes time. To go and half-ass it and say, oh, I'm going to go, I used to be so into archery. I have my bow. It's over here, and I'm like, I target shoot. I haven't shot in years, but for me, that's enough to scratch that itch. Like, it's just when it comes to hunting, it's just so much additional work that right now I'm not 100% sure I've got the time for.
So one thing about that is it's actually, you can equal it to fishing.
Yeah.
But the problem is, to be fair, if you find grass, you find lily pads, there's probably some sort of species of fish.
Sure. Yeah.
With deer, there might be deer in that cornfield.
Oh,
there might not.
Yeah.
And the problem with deer is deer, the longer the hunting season goes on, they start becoming nocturnal. So then you've got to move around and find them, and you have to spend that time. So if you're really and I could be completely wrong, and I know guys that do both, but if you're really a hardcore passionate fisherman, the time that you're catching the biggest fish when they're putting that feed bag on is when you should be scouting for deer hunting.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to I work 40 hours a week. I have Saturday and Sunday to fish. So I either can fish or scout for deer.
Yeah.
And I choose to fish because I enjoy it more.
I hear you, man.
That's my thing.
Just getting out in that kayak is cathartic. There's something really, 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 really good for you about just getting in that little boat. So
one of the best stories I have for that is I had my truck, a young kid in a little Honda CRV basically T-boned me in my truck.
Okay.
He hit me in a CRV so hard that he spun my Ram Eco Diesel 90 degrees.
Holy shit. How fast is he going?
That's what's weird. He was at an intersection. I was going 50 and he was shooting across.
Okay.
So he only came 40 yards, 30 yards before he hit me. So he must have just thought he could shoot the gap between cars.
Maybe.
He hit me on my driver's side rear tire in my truck bed and literally flipped me. Now, luckily, I'm that redneck kid that had a truck in high school that used to go do donuts in the parking lot before school. So I counter-steered it back straight and was fine.
Yep.
So my truck's down. Literally, he hit me so hard that they had to pull my truck up onto the wrecker and the wheels weren't spinning.
Oh, I believe
because he shifted my axles over.
Yeah.
So my truck's in the shop. So I'm like, it was just a bad week. And I'm like, I need to go fishing. So my wife at the time had a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yep.
I made her buy a Cherokee with a hitch because of stuff like this. I can take my kayak trailer still with this cheap.
Yep.
Literally, screw it. I'm taking the wife's car. She was okay with it. She knew I needed to just clear my head.
Yeah, you needed some time. Yeah.
I hit a fucking coyote with her car 40 yards from my house.
Shut the hell up. Are you serious, man?
Literally driving my kayak.
Oh, my God.
And I will admit, and I'm probably going to get in trouble because the state of Vermont has a hand law. I have a mount that my phone's up on my thing.
Yep.
And I'm literally recording, hey, guys, I had a really bad day. I got in a car accident yesterday. You'll notice I'm not in my truck. I'm heading to the water to clear my head and boom, boom. What, over the fucking coyote. He went under my trailer, launched my trailer, and I wrecked this dog. But I also smashed out the bottom of the ground effect on the car.
Oh, yeah.
And literally pulled over, called my wife, and I was bawling. I was just like, I lost it because it was just like all the stress hit me.
All at one time. Yeah.
And I'm like, she's like, is the car okay? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. And my wife, knowing me, goes, then go fishing.
Yeah.
And I went fishing. I caught 4, 5, maybe.
Yep.
But everything was fine. Once I got that first bass, and it was like a 8-incher.
Dink. Yeah.
But
just
holding that bass in my hand, cleared all the debt.
Oh yeah,
and I was fine. And that's why I love fishing, and that's actually why I stopped hunting, because I was like, I never got that from hunting. And I hunted when I was a kid. I hunted every day after school. In Vermont, like, it was not a big thing to have like your rifle in the backseat of your truck.
Oh yeah, no, that's how it is in Vermont. Yeah,
like it was. I mean, honestly, the college I went to, they actually
in Western Mass, it's kind of like that too in some spots.
Yeah, like literally VTC up until probably not so much recently with current political environment, but back in the day, Vermont Technical College on their brochure said you could hunt on campus.
Well, they have that much land, huh?
So that because they have a dairy management program, so they own farms. So literally, security met you at the entrance of the campus, and they would check your guns. They had like a little geo tracker.
Yep.
They'd fold the seat down. They'd lay all the guns out. They would put them in a gun safe in security office. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, they'd meet you out there with a folding table. Yeah. And you'd take your gun and you'd go hunt, and then you'd come back and check in with them, and they take it off campus.
That's pretty fucking cool.
That's the state I live in. Yeah. So but I got really into hunting for a long time, and then the hunting is not as good here, and it's hard to find deer. And not bragging, but I usually can find a fish. And
exactly.
Species, if I don't find a fish, I know I can find a bluegill. I know I can find a perch.
Yep.
And it's became like a mental thing. So wintertime has been rough for me.
Oh, I believe it.
I go from 16 hours a day Saturday and 16 hours a day Sunday to sitting here. That's actually why I started the live stream, because I wanted to at least talk fishing.
Yep. Yeah, it's something. It's something. It kind of scratches that itch. It's kind of funny, man. Like you talk about, like, and we talked about Vermont before, like when you were on Jigs and Bigs. Like I had Vermont all wrong. I really did. Like, I mean, most people, when you go to Vermont, you're thinking fly fishing because there's so many rivers and streams everywhere. And it was like summer of 2020, and like we have a group of friends who was like in the throes of the pandemic. We have a group of friends that were like, you know what? Let's get away for the 4th of July. You know, everybody knows everybody super duper well. Everybody's, you know, being careful. Like, let's go, and we'll go and stay, and, you know, we'll go up here. And we're outside of Manchester, Vermont. And in Manchester, there's the National Fly Fishing Museum, which was freaking closed. I wanted to check it out so badly, but it was closed. Just to check it out, you know. And I
want to say Orvis has a headquarters down there.
Yes,
too.
They do. I think you're right. And I went over, and I was looking at, I think it was Fish Brain, and I'm looking at just these tiny little ponds. And I don't even know that I had business being out on this property necessarily. Like, I went and I did my due diligence to look and see if it was posted anywhere, if there were any signs. And I went and I fished. I caught a handful of like rock bass, but I probably went to like 4 or 5 ponds, and like most of them I couldn't access. Most of them were, you know, there was nothing there. So I'm like, what does this state have? What is it, just Champlain? Like, what is in here for me to go fish? And after talking with you and talking with Ellie, I've started to realize that Vermont actually has a whole lot more. And I'm looking forward to fishing Vermont this year. Significantly. So
what's crazy about Vermont is I live here.
Yeah.
And I went on Fishing Game's website. And what's weird about, and it's a rural state thing. So keep in mind, if you're not from Vermont, you may not understand this, but we have boat launches are state parks.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So it might be 10-car parking lot.
Yeah.
But they own that spot. And that's all they own. But they don't have an address. There's no one that lives necessarily next to that ramp.
Exactly.
So you can't Google map the boating access on Lake Bomazene.
No.
You need to know the name of it.
Of the state
a lot
park.
of it.
Yeah.
And what's funny about it is the name on the website isn't even the name we call it.
That happens a lot too in like some remote areas where you're like the locals have a name for a spot and you're like, but I'm looking up on the map and it's not coming up. What the hell is this? So sometimes that's just how it is.
You'll hear guys talk about Float Bridge on Lake Bombazine, right? So Float Bridge is literally where they used to have a floating bridge on the road. The road is called Float Bridge Road.
Oh, okay.
That's called Green Dump is one of them. And the other one, Green Dump is literally the name that we call it. But the name of the actual access is
a Green Mountain State. It's Green Dump, man. I freaking love it.
Memorial access. Like they'll like literally let people like name accesses after like their relatives. Like they'll donate money and they get the name at like a memorial. But we call it Green Dump.
That's freaking
And then there's literally another one, Float Bridge, that's like Kehoe.
I'm gonna take you out fishing at Green Dump.
Green Dump. Yeah, exactly. Like we
I
have
had some
places
beef and broccoli one time and had a Green Dump.
Yeah, see, exactly. So, and there's a lot of places that like
oh god.
There's a bunch of accesses that the only way to find them is to know the GPS coordinates of them.
Yeah.
Well, and in Vermont, I suck at like directions anyways because we don't have the corner of blank and blank. We have Fred's old barn. You take a right and you go down the dirt road, and then there's a tree that got hit by lightning. You take a left there, and that's where the boat ramp is. That's how you find stuff here.
Yeah, and it's tough. That's one of those situations where like you got to know somebody. You know, you got to know somebody to be able to get on the water. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to getting out and doing some fishing. You know, it's gonna be fun. Yeah,
no, I definitely. I know we had talked at one point. You guys don't necessarily know this, but I've been talking to Bobby about coming up and doing. He's been getting into truck camping.
Oh yeah.
I have had a dream to do. There's a reservoir up here that has completely national forest all the way around it, and I've been wanting to do a camp out there. Yep. So Nate says he's in too.
It'll be a party, man.
So
awesome.
He promised to get me on a striper if I can try to get him on a walleye in that place. So it's kind of a bet at this point.
Dude, if you've got walleye up there, like make sure to do it on a tournament month.
Yep.
For sure.
We're gonna do it in July. May. So July, right?
July would be the one, yeah.
Yeah, so we can do it July. Because I'm thinking that's the best time. I was told by a buddy that catches walleye there that April and July for some reason. I don't know why those 2 months are the ones, but it's cool about that place is it's got smallmouth, largemouth, big perch, like big freaking perch. Tanks, so it's perfect so it's actually going to be funny if we can get all three of us there. It's going to make really good content because it's going to be me, you, and him. We're all in the Jigs and Bigs tournament. Yep. So you're going to hear like, ha ha, because we're going to beat each other on a perch. Because I'm telling you, the perch in there, that's why they actually use this as a walleye preserve.
Oh, really?
And it's because there's so many perch in there that are so big that they eat the perch. So they use it. So there's actually a slot limit on the walleye in there because they use that as like the preserve.
Gotcha.
It's literally all marked around it because they're trying to reintroduce them because honestly, fishermen have killed them here.
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah.
They're too damn tasty and people fished them out. Yep. So they're trying to bring them back and they use this place to do it.
Yep.
But yeah, there's huge perch. There's a abundant amount of smallmouth. They're just little, but they fight like it's the funniest thing. They kind of remind me of like rock bass, but they have that smallmouth mentality where they want to do aerodynamically. Like they go up.
They're just
like
vicious as hell.
When you hook a smallmouth in this place, their first reaction is, I'm going to fly.
Huh.
So every time you catch one, crankbait, worm, doesn't matter. They're coming up.
They're coming up from below, like a great white shark eating a seal.
They shamu. I've literally had smallmouth in this place.
Yep.
Cast a Senko in. Didn't hit my spot. Screw it. When I burn it back, had them hit it on the surface.
Oh, yeah.
I had one day literally hit it on the surface, miss it, and then shamu to get it because they bumped it into the air and then caught it and hooked them. Like they're just
that's
that
lucky,
aggressive.
Dude. That's awesome.
They're just that, and it was not. I mean, he was little.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing about the small smallies. They are piss and vinegar. Like they fight like a son of a bitch. It's part of the reason why I like them so much. You know, like how can you catch a 10-inch fish and be like, wow, that was one hell of a fight? You know, throw it on medium light gear. Oh wow, fantastic.
Yeah, you throw Yumdinger, Senko,
Little Ned
whatever
rigs, yeah.
on Ned rigs with a spinning reel. And and I use like all my spinning stuff is I use high vis line and I use like 10-pound test and I use a leader and that's what I do. So I'm using all my spinning stuff is finesse anyways.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But you'll think you have a big one on if you catch one deep. Because they fight like there's a big one, then you get them up on the surface, and then you're just skimming them across because then they've got no leverage on you. But they're aggressive as hell.
My favorite is when they get to the boat, then they just start digging down.
Yep.
You know, that is my favorite. And like you talk drop shot fishing. I was in Champlain and I was with my dad and we were with this guy, Ian Malinowskis. And Ian has a cabin up on Champlain called the Bass Cabin. And it happened to work out where there was a neighbor, I think, that had sold their house and they were having like the last little get together on the neighborhood before they left. And he's like, hey man, I'll take you guys out of my boat if you want to, you know, just hang out and, you know, it's cool if I just grab a couch to sleep on that first night. I said, yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. We went out. We had a great day. I got on this one smallmouth in it was something like 40 feet of water. And I'm not used to fishing like crazy deep like that, but I'm throwing a drop shot, tiny little bait fish presentation. And this thing just gets hammered and, you know, was able to finesse it back up, but the water was clear enough. The visibility was so good. I could see probably maybe about 5-6 feet down and I could see it down there. And then once it saw the boat, it was like, bye, and just started pulling drag straight down. It was like, oh, you're not done yet. We got them, you know, it was good, but like, I love smallmouth. I love fishing for smallmouth more than pretty much anything. Like if I have the choice to go to a smallmouth body of water, I'm going, you know, I love big largemouth, but smallies they're my favorite.
The way I equate it is like smallmouth use their mass or smallmouth use their agility and largemouth use their mass.
Yeah.
So largemouth will just like pull. They're like almost dead weight in some cases until they get close to the surface. Whereas a smallmouth is going to, even if it hits the surface, it's going to try to walk on the surface.
They're
to get
just
back
savage.
Yeah. Like they're always pissed off and they're just aggressive and they will hit baits that they have no business.
Oh yeah. I hear it all the time. People talk about, oh yeah, I want to downsize so that I can catch smallmouth with this. Are you crazy? They will eat. I mean, granted, you know, I'm not saying that it can't happen, that, you know, you got to be cognizant of what you're throwing, you know, and sometimes it makes more sense to throw treble hook baits for them. But like they will hit stuff they have no business putting in their gullet.
Yeah. Like you could not possibly swallow this. Like they'll hit, they remind me a lot. Rock bass are like that too. Like I feel like rock bass probably have the same type of genetic backup, you know, but I don't know if they're on the same like strain of species, but they're the same way. You'll catch I've caught rock bass on like the big Chapo.
Oh yeah.
And you're like,
I believe it, man.
And you're like, what were you going to do when you caught this? Like, dude, this is longer than you are, dude. Like,
I was out fishing a spot with a friend of the show, Josh Scaife, and he catches some big fish. He's a big swim bait guy. And I told him, I was like, yeah, well, I got to get out, you know, fishing where you are. He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'll take you some of my spots. So we go to this one spot and I was throwing pretty much all big baits for the most part. I threw a Bruce Gillis. I threw, what else did I throw? I threw a big pompadour and I got railed on that big pompadour, and this thing has giant treble hooks. And after we looked at like all the fish that did get caught, there were so many rock bass in there, and some of these things had shoulders, like they were like 3 inches thick. It was crazy. So like they have no business, you know, hitting a bait this size, but you know, managed. Unfortunately, you know, I think he shook off because that's a heavy ass bait. You know, it really is.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked. But, you know, I mean, some of these fish were just absolute giants. And rock bass some people hate rock bass. You know, like I know if you talk to anybody who fishes at like Winnipesaukee, they hate rock bass. They're like, oh, it's such a pain in the ass. There's so many of them. It's true. But they're fun, you know, and like if you're a multi-species angler and if you're in a tournament like this, well, hey, have fun. You know, you're catching them. At least they have a little value, a little bit.
My son has a spot on Lake Bomazeen, so I found the spot. It's actually almost perfect. It's actually with a spawning flat. So at the southern end of Lake Bomazeen, it's sand all the way in.
Oh, okay.
But on the other side of the sand is milfoil.
Okay.
So it's literally like, it's like somebody took, and I think they dredge it, and I think that's why it's sand, because there's a lot of camps along that shoreline.
Is it a beach?
But it's like, it's not though. It's literally out probably 50, 60 yards, maybe even 100 yards into the water. It's all sand and rock, but then there's like an edge, and then it's thick milfoil. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
Prime time bass place.
Sure. Right on those weed lines and stuff, for sure.
Right on the edge, because they cruise that edge of that grass and they eat all the rock bass.
Yep.
So the bass are in there and the rock bass are in there. But the problem is there's so many freaking rock bass in there that I don't even fish it that much, because it's every cast. It's like literally every cast with a crankbait, you're pulling it in. Got another one, got another one, got another one. And it's not even that it's fun. But like a lot of times I use, one of my go-to baits is a small like Kitech style swim bait with like a belly weighted hook.
Sure.
Just weedless. It's easy to catch anything on, multi-species, whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem is the freaking rock bass eat the tails.
Yes.
So you go through a fucking pack of Kitechs every time you fish here, because they run up and catch just the tail. And then you basically, granted, what I do with mine is I use them as a drop shot bait after.
Oh, definitely.
Pro tip there.
Yep.
They bite that boot tail off, and now that Kitech's now a drop shot bait for me.
Yeah. There you go.
Because it's basically a small, style bait.
Oh yeah.
That works really well. But but
That's
still,
awesome,
you go through a pack of baits that you spent $8 on for
rock
bass gets a little aggravating. So
For
I
sure.
can see why people
Yeah.
get mad at them.
Yeah, there was, I mean, even like small largemouth. Like I fished a pond not that long ago with my buddy, the guy I went to Chickamauga with, and this is a local pond that has a reputation of just being hot garbage, and it is so stunted. Like these fish were like twins, every single one. It was just the same size, same exact size, size. And we go and we're throwing around. I think I was throwing around flukes, and I'm not sure. He was probably throwing around like a whopper plopper. And I think I caught like 17 or 18 largemouth, all the same size, probably all nibblers, like 11 inch, 12 inch. Yep. And all of these fish were like, it was to the point where it was like almost annoying, because you're like, all right, cool. Release this one. Cool. I'm going to fish this grass here. Oh, look, another 12 inch nibbler, I catch a pickerel and I was just like, holy shit, that's so interesting, The
video I released a short not long ago, but where I caught the 2 fish on the lipless.
Oh yeah.
So that's a place that's just like that, only it's 17 and a half inch clones.
Yep.
So every bass in there is 17 and a half inches.
Yeah.
Like you could literally, like, I think it's like one gene pool. Like it's just that funny.
I wouldn't doubt
they
it, man.
look the same.
Yeah.
They're the same build. It's because there's not enough food in there.
That's exactly
what's funny about it.
They're
is, like
overpopulated.
Like you said, Vermont, we're famous for fly fishing. Well, what do fly fishermen target the most? Trout. So what is fishing game stock? Trout. But this place has so many bass in it, they've upped the limit to 5.
Oh.
And nobody eats bass.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
Exactly.
Right? But the thing is, there's 17-inch clones all day long, and no one fishes for them because it's a trout lake. And when they throw the stalker trout in there, they're just feeding the bass.
Oh, that's my favorite, man. I love fishing a pond that has a respectable, what do you call it? Like a respectable population of largemouth, and that's been stocked with rainbows. You know what I mean? Because then it's like, that's like I have a rainbow trout jerkbait that I love for specifically that situation.
Yep.
Especially like in a little colder water or something like that. Like if they get accustomed to that diet, those trout eaters are significant. That's one of the things that I actually this year I kind of want to fool around with a little bit is some of the jig style plastic, like 8 and 10 inch plastic swim baits in the trout style.
Yep.
Because we have so many bodies of water here that get stocked routinely.
It's the only place that I really use a lot of white because of that, because it has that trout profile.
Yep.
I actually I pour my own plastics with a do-it molds.
Yep.
And I'll make literally like white with black fleck swim baits for that body of water. Because
what the number one bait that I caught from all my trout last year on?
What?
A Ned rigged 2.5 inch Kitech. Yep. Just slayed it. I mean, I wasn't targeting them, but all the trout that I caught, that's what they all ate. I caught my first brown that way right after I caught a great smallie up in the Housatonic. And that's what I was targeting, were smallies. And I was like, holy shit, we're Brown Town. This is amazing.
So I never realized this. So the longer you do this sport, and anybody who's getting into bass fishing, there's a mental progression. And that's actually why I want to promote like small, like the multi-species tournaments and stuff, is when you get into bass fishing or targeting a specific species of fish, you start to put the parts together. So I discovered the swim bait because I fish a lot of grass. And treble hooks suck in grass. It's a pain in the butt. Even with a square bill, you still end up spending more time picking salad out of your freaking bait than you do fishing.
Your best friend is a lipless if you're throwing in grass. Your best friend, you know.
So I started fishing lipless and I started fishing belly-weighted swim baits. Well, my favorite color is Pro Blue Shiner in the Kitex. And I never made the connection until last year why that one works everywhere. I'm in a fucking trout state. That's a fucking baby trout. That's a stalker trout color. It's got a blue back. It's got a blue-gray back and a white belly with a little bit of fleck in it. It's literally a
dark
baby
top
trout.
with the light bottom. It's huge, man.
It's a trout profile.
You know?
So that's why they hit them. And they hit them, you know, hard. And the thing is, what's funny about those little Kitex is, like, I will admit, you have me convinced on the swim bait deal. We had talked about it in your podcast. How you've definitely worked them. And I actually have a custom order into eBay. And I'm thinking about having to make me in that same color pattern one of those smaller, like the $30 swim bait that he sells, that smaller jointed. One that he has. Because,
is that like the jointed crappie or the jointed bluegill?
The jointed bluegill. So the color that I want to make is it's a color that Bandit used to make. So I discovered this bait completely by accident. My wife's favorite color is purple. So I bought a square bill called a Viral Perch. It's got a purple back with like little lines down the side of it, a chartreuse belly.
Nice. Love
and
that.
It's got
love
a red like spot right here. Smallmouth love it. Largemouth destroy it. They discontinued the color.
Of course they did. You want to have them do this color?
So I'm actually sending pictures. I literally took a bait and I was like, and then I sent him the like stock photo and I'm like, can you make me this? Are you going to get in trouble or whatever? But ultimately I'm like, can you replicate this? But I want it in a lipless because they never made it in a lipless. And for smallmouth, they like those bright chartreuse, like those purples, those reds. So I have them doing that, but I'm thinking about having them do one of those bluegill swim baits with that.
Oh, for sure, dude. Bluegill swim baits it's a must have. Like I've got is it Fish Lab? I think it's Fish Lab that I have. I have one that's a suspending. It's a three. I think it's got 3 joints, and this thing is awesome. And then I've got a couple. One of them might be a Savage that are the plastic style. Where they have a belly weighted hook that goes like a jig hook that goes up in there that's belly weighted and everything is tucked right in there. You want to talk about great for grass. Like I have there's this one tiny pond near me. Like this is what I would call, if I had to call this my local pond, this is where I go all the time. And I have caught more 16-inch fish plus out of this body of water than anything else. It is great. I don't know if it's just not so populated because they don't stock it with trout or anything. It doesn't get a ton of pressure. I don't think very many people keep what they get, but it's in a state park. And I have gone out and thrown that swim bait right in like just the heaviest of grass. And I don't even have to throw it on my swim bait rod. I mean, I think it's 3/4 ounce. Like I can throw it on a heavy rod, it's fine. But this thing is just awesome. Throw it on in the grass with braid, cut it out if I need it. But it's also really good for if you're bed fishing. Throw a bluegill swim bait in there and they get pissed.
Dude, so bed fishing last year I missed it. So unfortunately, because I can only fish weekends. There's like perfect timing. I always miss it. I always seem to like miss it. And I'm actually probably going to like kind of keep my ear to the listening to what's going on and try to maybe
if they're on beds
on the day when they're hitting. Because I found a lot of beds last year post spawn. Like they had already spawned, but I found fucking miles of beds in a bunch of the different spots that I fish. And like you said, you drop anything that's a bluegill profile, like a gilly is another one.
That's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, you drop that on there, and the funny part is they're not actually trying to eat it. That's what people don't realize.
No.
They're not eating that.
That's
they're
what
trying
makes
to pick
it so
up
frustrating.
and throw it away.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
They'll
about
suck it in, and then they won't even close their mouth. Almost, it's like they're like hovering it inside their mouth.
Yeah,
because they'll suck in water and they'll swim a few feet off the bed and blow it back out. They're
exactly.
like, get away from my bed.
It was only when was it? Like late July or early August that I started throwing small like 3.3 and 3.8 inch Kitex on an open hook jig head, like just a ball head jig, real simple. And this year, I think that having that open hook will actually lead to way more hookups, especially for bed fishing, because you're not throwing in like heavy cover. You can see them right there, and if they're going to get it, that hook is exposed. You know, I mean,
what's surprising to me is, and I always had this mentality like that's going to get hung up in the grass. I'm not going to throw that. It actually doesn't.
It's not that bad.
Upward bend isn't that bad. It's the downward bend that's the problem.
And you know, absolutely, you can lose them. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what you're throwing is just a real simple jig head that's cheap with a soft plastic of your choice. And like, you're going to lose some. Awesome. But you're trying to catch bigs. You know, that's
you know, what's funny is my dad. So my dad, I told him about the Kitech thing. I was like, hey, we're going to go to this body of water. And this is a place where I feel like I have an ego. There's a couple of bodies of water that are close to my house that like, I know I can catch fish there.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I don't even fish them a lot. It's like when I need to make a video and I want to test, like if I buy those swim baits from eBay,
that's a good place to test them.
I'm going to go test them because I know where the fish are and I know what colors they like. And for guys that don't know eBay or anything, I'm going to put a link to them down in the show notes. Check them out. Like if you're looking for custom painted baits, they are beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And the price, honestly, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. They're fantastic.
Because he's selling something that should be $90 for $30.
He's also selling like, you know, his jerk baits and his deep cranks and even his lipless and everything. They're all like the real deal plug.
Yeah.
Like they're the real deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I bought a bunch of them, but I want to try to test those baits out. But this is a place where I was like, all you need to do is take a belly weighted hook. And put a Kitech on it. And he goes, okay, weighted hook. My dad literally fishes his Kitex with a tube head. He didn't even know that wasn't what you do with it. So he takes a tube, like the actual tube hook, and then just slides the Kitech up against the end of the tube, the weight, and then fishes them like that.
Huh.
So it's almost like a Ned rigged swim bait.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Elongated like head. But it's got that long piece of lead on the end of it.
Yeah.
But he fishes them like that, and he catches all kinds of fish. I'm like, Dad, I use the belly weighted ones for weedlessness. And he's like, no, I just use these.
Yeah.
He's like, I thought this is what you said. And I was like,
I mean, they'll work. You know, that's the thing. They will work.
And that's what it is.
Jig heads specifically, like swim bait jig heads. It's one of those things where every time I go out and I'm buying gear, I'm adding more to my terminal tackle box.
Yep.
You know, I'm just doing it.
The thing with terminal is it's versatile. Like those ones that the stand up heads that Fresh Baits recommends.
Oh yeah.
So I've used those as like a Ned rig, and they do actually work really well, but they cast a little weird.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I have with them is they will helicopter.
Yep.
Because the way the weight is shifted. But there's a lot of different baits that I've literally started experimenting with plastics because honestly, I can make my own.
Yeah, exactly.
So I start doing weird terminal rigging because it's cheaper.
Exactly.
I don't have to buy a $12 bait.
Yep.
I could buy a $6 pack of hooks and then do different weird rigs.
Yep.
Because the other thing I do in my kayak, which is actually kind of nice, it's a little cheat code, is I'll pre-rig like Carolina rigs with a barrel swivel or pre-rig. I've actually pre-rigged drop shot rigs where I literally put the double-ended barrel swivel on it.
Yep.
So that I can just tie that to my line.
Yeah.
So then I don't have to tie a whole drop shot setup on the end of my line. I can just tie it to the barrel swivel.
Yep. That's a good idea.
And then so you can do like a Carolina rig. You can do a Texas rig. So if you do a longer one, you can do a Texas rig with the weight and the slide on it. And then you don't have to like cut a piece of leader, tie your connection knot.
Yeah.
I tie it to the double, like the small, like really tiny ones. And then I just tie polymer on one side and a polymer on the other side. And then I just drop it on so you can change out techniques without having to have a whole different setup every time.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, terminal is, and then what I do is I use packing foam when I get packages from Amazon. I hook it into that, and then I just wrap it around it.
That's a good idea.
Because then you can kind of keep it contained. Because that's the only thing about tying those pre-tied leaders is they get knotted.
If they're loose, exactly. You don't want them, in the truck moving around. They're going to get all jostled. Putting them around something to keep them.
I just
that's
use
a really
that
good idea,
weird,
dude.
That weird black foam, and then you just hook it into it, wrap it around, and then you can have like a Carolina rig, a Texas rig, a drop shot.
Yeah.
Drop shot's a little hard. Because of the way you really should have it go through the hook, and then you have to have it like it's a little bit long to try to wrap up.
Yeah, I just tie my stuff if I need to. I'm like, I'm gonna put a bunch of leader, and I do. This is like the mistake that everybody says don't do it, but I'll put like 14 foot of leader on my spinning gear. Like 2 rod lengths. I'll put it on there because I'm like, if I'm cutting off a Ned or I break off and I got to tie on something else, I don't want to have to tie another leader if I don't have to. In fact, I often will bring multiple finesse combos for different uses.
I bring 2, and I actually this year. So what I'm doing this year is a lesson I learned from. Actually, I kind of adapted a Shawn the fisherman technique.
Yeah.
So I have. I don't have multiple spools, but I have backup reels.
Yeah, see, that's what I do.
So I pre-wrap a reel. Like I have a bunch of before you think I'm like this rich fisherman, my backup reels are Abu Garcia Black Max.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Same thing, man.
$40.
But you're like, oh shit, I need something that's got, somewhere between 15 and 20 pound fluoro.
Yep.
Okay, I've got this. I can work with this. Or, lots of times what I'll do is on those backup reels, I will put braid, and then I have a variety of other stuff where I'll just tie a leader if I need to. That way I can get it to work.
It's funny. I don't have a single reel that doesn't have braid on it. All my reels have braid.
Yeah.
And then
I'm not like that at all. I do. Most of my reels have fluorocarbon except for my my Froggen and buzzbait bait caster. That's got braid on it. All my spinning reels all have. I always go braided leader with my spinning stuff. It's just a preference of mine.
It's what it is I would love to, but I cast too hard.
Gotcha.
I've learned this about me. I've tried it, and I've spent $30 to have to cut it all out with scissors later. Because I will tell you, braid, you can sometimes pick out that backlash. You get a good backlash of fluorocarbon.
Dude, I was on
not coming out.
I was on Chick. This is like our 3rd spot. And I was throwing this is like kind of my moneymaker combo for moving baits. And I had 14-pound fluoro on here. We had just spooled up these reels like right beforehand. And you know what that means? You're going to backlash a little bit till you kind of get it worked out and everything. So I'm like, okay, all right, that's cool. And I got one that was just terrible. It was terrible. And then we happened to be doing a long run. And I said, look, while we're doing this run, I'm going to pick this thing out. And my buddy Paul knew. He's like, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. And then Caleb was looking at us like, this jabroni doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Who are these guys, these idiots?
Yep.
I got it.
You feel that honestly, it becomes a OCD thing.
It does. Yep.
Like I literally have had, and that's actually why I started carrying backup reels, because when I fish tournaments, I'll just pull that reel and put a different one on.
Yeah.
But I will try to pick it out when I get home. I will sit there watching TV, screwing with it, trying to get it to.
And that's what I did. I was like, this is so bad. I'm reeling this up. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to leave it as is. Yep. We'll figure it out. But I knew we were doing a big run to another spot. And I was like, I got time. I'm going to go ahead and start picking this out. And I got it.
Yeah, I've literally done that. I'll do that when I'm like, my wife actually laughs at me because I'll sit here at my desk. My TV's right here. And I'll literally have my rods and I'll be tying leaders, fixing backlashes, pulling sections of line out that are frayed and cutting them off and retying stuff on. And I'll do that a lot because it's like that time, like you said, when you work a full-time job and you're always on the go, I get everything prepped the night before I go fishing. But a lot of times I'll prep like Wednesday or Thursday. I'll start putting line on or adjusting stuff. And so, but
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, no, it's definitely awesome. We're definitely going to do. I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up buying a Massachusetts full season fishing license.
I would.
I want to ask you, how does that work with like the brackish? Do I have to have like an international license, or is there a special license to fish both?
No.
Like salt
No.
stuff, or is it just a regular marine license?
I think you're good. There might be a stamp for the canal.
Okay.
I forget. But I mean, generally
because I know
speaking,
like the Hudson has like you have to have a stamp or some freaking thing to fish that, but yet
you might want to look into it because like I have never fished for striper out at the Cape. I never have. I've lived here. I've lived in Massachusetts my entire life, and the only time I've ever fished for striper has been in the Connecticut River when they're migrating.
Gotcha.
That's it. So I haven't run into that situation, but from what I think your typical like fishing license will cover it.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I was thinking I'm going to buy a season because Nate had already offered to take me out. And Nate, like, to be honest, if you don't understand some of these names, but like, he doesn't realize that he fishes with like kayak fishing royalty.
Sure.
But the
he knows.
guys to him,
he knows.
He name drops like he'll be like, yeah, man, you know, when the stripers come in, man, you know, like, you know, I go out there with like Ken and I'm like Ken Wood, like Joe DeDeo, like you know, I'm fishing with who?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, you're fishing with who? He's like, yeah, we get on stripers, and I'm like, what? Like, you know, he's like, those are the guys that he fishes with. So he probably somewhat nonchalantly says their names, but I'm like, that's like the, you know, top 10 KPF list.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like
they're killing it.
But I want to try to get a season with them. I want to come down there. I want to honestly.
Yep.
I want to get into bank fishing. So I started out bank fishing. Like that's how I started.
I think most
kid.
everybody does. Yeah.
My dad was a big time salmon fisherman. So we did the deep sea trolling style.
Oh yeah.
Trout salmon. But I, as a kid, used to ride my bike like 15 miles with a backpack and a tackle box and a backpack and go catch bullhead, you know, bluegill, all that crap.
Oh,
so like that was my intro to it. And I just got away from it. And then when I got the kayak, it was just like, I never really do it, but I think for me, I don't think I would do it by myself.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I need a partner or someone to go with me.
Yep.
Because I get bored really quickly if I'm not like having a good day.
Well, and then also like if you're going somewhere that you're not familiar with, like it can be sketchy. Like I do a lot of urban fishing, you know, and that can get real sketchy fast. I got a good story for you. Are you familiar at all with Holyoke? Where I live? A little bit, yeah. So Holyoke is kind of famous for having this like canal system that comes off the Connecticut River. It was used during, you know, the industrious days of the town or of the city. And it was, you know, this is how they moved things around from one plant to another and shipped things all over the place. It's kind of amazing. And now they just kind of sit unused. Like, you know, you'll get somebody might throw like a shopping cart or something in there. Like whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I've heard from many people that there are fish in there. And there's only happened, was it twice? I think it was twice. I have caught a smallie out of there.
Yep.
And one time there was this is going to get very not safe for work. Just a heads up to your viewers. So buckle up. We're getting into Jigs and Bigs territory.
Nice.
There was a guy. So I was throwing a 6 Sense Divine swim jig, right? And I jacked this fish. I was like, holy shit. I saw him come out from underneath a rock and grab my jig and he starts running with it. I jacked that freaking rod back and I got him. I'm reeling him in and I'm up probably about 15, 17 feet above the water. And I'm reeling him up. He's coming up to the bridge. I grab him and there's people standing there on the other side. There was like a food truck and there might've been like a farmer's market or something further down the street. And I let out this like Mike Iaconelli, fuck yeah, fucking crazy loud. Well, there was a homeless dude behind one of the old factory buildings there that was, we'll just say he was
a little more excited about that fish than I was.
Okay.
Yeah, he was pulling some It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia shit, if you know what I mean. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? So I released the fish. I got pictures of it. Oh, it was absolutely unbelievable. It was so nice because I have friends that are like, yeah, we saw you, Bobby, fish in the canal. Like, what are you doing down there? I was like, I know that there's fish in here, you know, and when I only have maybe 60 minutes and I got to go to work right afterwards, this is nice and easy. I'll go and I'll try and catch them there, but. And this is probably,
I learned something about bass biology the other day, and I was actually watching this like whole thing about bass. And honestly, I always wondered this, and it makes more sense. So bass eggs don't get digested by birds.
Really?
So that's how they end up in these fucking golf course ponds.
Gotcha.
And like these and sewer drains and shit, because the bass eggs will get eaten by birds that'll swim down and eat them off the surface if they float up. And if they're fertilized and then they shit in the water,
makes sense.
They hatch. Now, granted, there's not going to be a diverse species because you're going to have an inbreeding situation because all the bass in there are from the same gene pool. But that's how you get bass in some of these obscure ponds that you're like, how did fish get?
How did fish ever get in here? I guess that makes sense too, because I've heard stories from people that are like, oh, I fished this retention pond at the mall.
Yep.
And I guess it does make sense.
So I found that out in the biology of bass, and I was like, because I always wondered, I'm like, are fucking golf courses stocking their pond? Like,
no,
why?
Definitely not. Yeah.
But they're in there, so how did they get in there? Did fishermen throw? And to be honest, that happens too. Fishermen do dumb shit and throw. I mean, there's actually a lake in New York called Chez Z.
Yep.
And it's literally, it was just a flooded, like basically hole in the ground that they made a lake, and it became like almost a private lake, but it has a public ramp. And somebody put pike in there.
Oh, okay.
And New York literally built this thing to be a rainbow trout lake.
By rainbow trout.
So it's funny. It's the weirdest place you've ever fished. You'll catch huge pike.
Oh, I believe
because there's literally little largemouth, rainbows, and pike.
Yep.
That's all that's in here.
Jeez.
So the pike have zero competition after they get over 12 inches. There's nothing that's going to contend with them.
Yeah.
And you catch a pike there, and they're huge, and nobody fishes for them because they only want the trout.
Yeah.
And the locals, I've never seen locals hate a species of fish more in my life. You literally will catch a pike, and if there's anyone on shore that sees you, they'll say, kill that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've literally had people be like, throw that fucking thing on the shore. And I'm like, it's a 30-inch pike. I'm not throwing this on shore because I appreciate this fish.
We have a body of water over here where I guess for one reason or another, they stocked it at one time to control some population. And they stocked it with bowfin. And bowfin are all over the place in here. They're all over the place. Last spawn, I saw, mommy or daddy bowfin, guarding these bowfin fry up in the shallows. I caught my first bowfin there. That's part of the reason why I dedicated so much time to this spot was because I knew they were there.
I'm coming to visit you because that's on my bucket.
Hell yeah, dude. It's awesome. But I remember the first time I ever realized that they were in there, I saw one cruising in the shallows. And there was this one dude, this drunk asshole, he goes and he's White Bucket Brigade. You know what I mean? Shows up, takes way beyond his limit, fish that don't make the cut, eats whatever it is. And then he goes, I'm looking at this. I was like, is that a bowfin? So I shout out to these two guys. I was like, yeah, is that a bowfin? I was like, are they in here? And he was like, oh, yeah, they stocked them back, whatever. If you catch it, you got to kill it. And I'm like, okay, whatever, buddy. That shit ain't happening. They're amazing fish. They fight like pit bulls. They're amazing.
Well, their body is designed to fight. They're a lot like a pike where they're the same width all the way through. So they do that like this thing. I don't know what the hell this is called, but like pike do the same thing where they curl their whole body to pull the pickerel do it a lot too. When you get them close, they'll like fold their body in half to push off, which makes it so hard to fight them.
They're a bunch of piss and vinegar, man. It is crazy. But I caught one. It was a small one. It was 18 inches, but I was so freaking stoked.
Check. Yeah, it's another check.
I was so stoked.
Yeah, I'm trying to collect more species this year. I want to try to catch a trout for my kayak, which I've never done. I've only caught them trolling.
Yeah.
I want to try to catch I'd love to catch a muskie, but they don't really have them here. They've started stocking them, but they're not really a thing.
Yep.
Bowfin is definitely one of them.
Oh,
a
for
striper.
sure. Yeah.
Which, to be honest, most of those are going to be your guys' waters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably.
We don't have striper here, so because we don't have any ocean for them to go to.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I suppose there could be some that go up the Connecticut.
I've been told that the northern, like up by the New Hampshire border, we have accesses that kind of parallel the New Hampshire ramps.
Yeah.
And I've been told that there's some that do come all the way up, but it's not as common as like being able to just come down there where they run. So.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
All right, we're at like an hour and 17 minutes. I'm gonna be respectful of Bobby's time. I know he's probably got 17 podcasts and 15 interviews to edit, so I'm gonna cut it short right here, guys. But I want to thank everyone for coming along with me. If you have not checked out the Jigs and Bigs podcast, let me tell you, I'm all the way up to about halfway through the 2020 season, and I'm still listening. So he has a video every week. He has an episode pretty much every week, if not bonus episodes. He has a Patreon, so you can actually be a jig head, which I signed up to be a jig head. But I actually signed up this week. And this tournament series, guys, if you want to get into tournaments, you want to do something, just honestly get your kids involved. You want to get them a little competition in their life. You want to just do something that's a little bit competitive but not super intense. I highly recommend this tournament series. You'll find yourself at the bank desperately trying to catch a bullhead or a perch, and it will be a lot of fun. So I highly recommend doing that.
Gamify your fishing, man.
Exactly. So guys, just check out Jigs and Bigs, check out everything about it, hit that podcast up, hit that tournament series, and we're gonna cut it right here. But again, I want to thank everyone who sat and listened to us ramble about fishing for an hour and 20 minutes.
That's the way it works. I love it.
And so thanks, guys.
This was awesome. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Right as I hit the intro music to start again, I'm like about to cough my brains out. Like, thank God for this mute button. You guys have missed so much stuff that you didn't want to hear. I appreciate it. And for the little that I wasn't able to mute in time, I apologize for. But what a great show this week. Like, we were all over the place, We were, we once again, we got upset with the situation with our clocks changing and not fooling around with Shawn's sleep schedule and ruining this poor man's life. And then we talked about, amazing baits. We talked about bass boats equating to essentially being a status symbol. We talked about International Women's Day. We talked about forever chemicals in local ponds and waters. It's kind of fucking depressing. This goddamn show. Kind of goddamn depressing.
I'm so tired.
I apologize, guys. That was my Siri chiming in.
Is that what that was?
A second ago.
I was wondering what was going on there.
Oh shit. Good stuff, gentlemen. Good stuff. Let's just go ahead. We'll wrap this sucker up, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks especially to all of our jig heads in here. We got Rob Drummond. I do want to mention this. He put this up here, and I didn't know a good spot to pop it in. So right here. He goes, I guess he caught a 5-pound largemouth last Thursday, but he's been laid up with back pain since the next morning. That must have been one hell of a freaking hook set, dude, to throw your back out like that. Wow. But he's out on the pond right now, actually tossing a line, feeling a bit better, and he's communicating on the live stream. This is the kind of cool shit you get to do when you're a jig head. And then he comments right down below. He says, "Shit, phone's about to die. Might get back on if I get home soon."
I don't think it was a hook set that threw his back out. I think it was all the celebratory sex.
I'll bet you it was
hours afterwards.
I'll bet you it was. That makes sense.
Yes.
What an amazing show. An absolutely amazing show. I'm hoping
it was a good one.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I can improve my bronchial situation soon. That would be good. It's going to be a rough week of trivia shenanigans, and I got to take a look at the weather tonight because I want to see exactly when these cold temps are going to roll in, and find out what my week looks like as far as getting on the water.
It's supposed to be Monday. Yeah, Monday night, and then Tuesday's a shit show, and then breaking into Wednesday. So,
really?
Yeah, everything's pretty much fucked. Might get some bites tomorrow, man.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I was going to take the boat out today, and I was like, nah, we'll give it one more week.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'm going to take a ride up to Sheffield and get a couple of Magdrafts myself.
Yes,
I think that's the plan. I'm going to pick up a couple of 8s and we'll fool around with some of those. I actually have a really good. We were talking about like a yellow perch pattern. I got a really good soft swim bait with a jig hook style hook on it. That's a yellow perch. That is like dead to nuts. Looks like you just caught a good size 8-inch yellow perch. Yeah.
And you got one sitting on my dining room table waiting for you.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe we grab some breakfast this week, Beefy.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I like that idea. I can definitely.
It looks like those the sleeper gills, Bobby. It looks like those have a jig head style from Megabass.
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Something to look into. Probably gonna buy one of those. God damn it. Spencer, you'll be seeing me soon. What do we got? Binya chimes in again. He says, it's my fault. This storm's coming. I kept saying I was going to go open water fishing this coming weekend. Yep, it's true. Mother Nature saying the fuck you are.
Hey, he's from New England, right? What the fuck, dude? You know better than to jinx shit. Come on.
True. It's true.
Do that.
Rookies. Come on.
I got a little nickname that we can call Binya Outdoors. He's going to be our super trooper.
Oh.
We're going to call him our super trooper.
Officer Ramrod.
Officer Ramrod. Oh, that's amazing.
Who wants mustache rides?
You boss of Mexico.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. As you know, we are getting into the swing of things here, guys. We have a whole lot of fun stuff lined up for you guys regarding tournaments. With our whole multi-species scavenger hunt style. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I'm really looking forward to fishing, essentially fishing virtually with everybody. So please do what you can. Jump into these right here. Your entry fees are, the payout is pretty great, but a little share of that does go to help the show. So you getting involved and fishing with us, it does support the show a little bit, and we appreciate that. That is freaking amazing. I think that about does it for all of us. We will see you guys next time we see you. I appreciate all of you for listening. Remember, give us a rating over on Spotify and a review if you're over on Apple Podcasts. We have lots of great stuff lined up, all kinds of guests that we have in store for you. We're going to be launching a new series all about guides. That'll be coming out shortly, too. So you're not going to want to miss it, guys. Much more good stuff coming down the road from Jigs and Bigs. And have yourselves a great one. Remember, tag us in your fish picks if you're catching them. Let us know. We want to know that you're getting on them. And until then, like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.